This is, mine is made by
Okay.
LWRC.
It is 6:01, and this is the Madison Advisory Budget Committee meeting on Tuesday, December 16th at 6 PM here in Town Hall. Welcome, everyone. At the table, we have Linda Shackford, who is the town administrator and also serves as the note taker and minutes taker. Jake Bowie, who's selectman representative. Joe Dame, who's the vice chair of the ABC. Doug McAllister, member extraordinaire. Nice. Myself, Sharon Schilling, I'm the chairman of the ABC. To my left is Deb Parsons, who is the school board representative to the ABC, and Nan Bartlett, another member extraordinaire. But welcome, thank you. Can we say the Pledge of Allegiance? I'll lead. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First thing on our agenda is the approval of the November 18th minutes. They were provided for review electronically. Does anyone have any corrections, comments, changes, additions, deletions?
I had a correction, but I
Yeah.
gotta find it. It was under health insurance, I thought.
Well, it's health insurance. Lead options for employee health insurance with information compiled by Sharon. After examining four options with different deductible amounts, employee contribution committee recommended option 2, keeps the current 3K deductible plan with increasing employee contributions 10%. We will extend this recommendation. Selectman Nordland suggested that employees could consider applying for Medicare or Medicaid for their children. Anything? No?
I guess not.
Okay.
Must have read it wrong.
All right, well, there being no changes or corrections, I'll entertain a motion to
So moved.
approve. Second? Anyone?
One second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Unanimous. Okay. McAllister and Parsons, second. Okay. Public comment, and we have public tonight.
We're the public, eh?
You are the public. Do you have any comments or questions?
Very fine.
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay.
I do.
Selectman Nordland? You're here as a citizen or a selectman tonight?
Well, if it helps you do my selectman homework, I guess a little of both.
A little both? Okay.
Do my homework
Just-
for me.
Just making sure.
No, usually citizen, because I don't have a role in that, but, I didn't know if this has been discussed, even though I was at the last meeting, if you as a board have a goal now that we have a proposed budget, which I don't know when you might have gotten yours, but if you've discussed what percentage you might be having as a goal.
We have not, because we got the budget, and then we didn't have the budget as of our last actual meeting. There was a meeting that was canceled in between, and now we have it tonight, so that's part of what we'll discuss tonight.
Okay, so
Yeah.
do you think you might, like, say, you might try to work towards a goal of a certain percentage increase or no increase, which would be my dream?
I'm always of the, let's see if we can decrease it kind of
That's what I
mindset.
mean, no,
Yeah,
I'm saying, based on the increase we've been given, are you?
Well, we'll have to
Okay,
see
just
where
curious.
that conversation
Just curious
goes.
if we
Yeah.
work to a common place there.
Yeah,
All
no,
right,
no.
awesome, thanks.
So this is a preliminary, Tom Rake was up on Pine Hill Road. So you have a preliminary budget?
This
now?
is a draft budget
Draft.
still, yes. So, although we're getting to the point where there's not a lot of wiggle room to make changes and things in it, so,
What's the percentage?
blah, blah, blah.
There's plenty of time. We still have all of January.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, just.
Oh, that's right, because it's the school that we have to, by the beginning of January.
Yeah, no, we have until the budget hearing, the 10th of February
10th of
to
February, to
nail
make
it down.
changes
So,
and nail it
solid
down.
month and a half.
Okay,
Then you have all the warrant articles.
and we have, I think, 3 meetings in between now and then?
I think so.
2 in January and then 1 at the beginning of February. So we have 2 to 3 more meetings that we can continue to work with the
So
budget.
curiosity, just 12.6, 12 point what?
The original was 12.3, right?
This is
No,
8.6 right now.
That's
Okay,
8.6.
That was the wrong one with the 2,078.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, I should have done that math
Lots
too.
of projections.
8.6.
Yes, all right.
Yes.
But
So-
keep in mind, I threw numbers in there that the selectmen haven't
Right,
even
we-
seen.
we haven't even
to
looked at it
discuss
yet,
Right.
so.
So we have a draft of the budget that the selectmen have not seen yet. So
Okay.
one of the things that we'll do though is we'll discuss it and we'll give Selectman Bowie information to take back to the select board as to what the ABC is thinking and what we see in terms of the draft they haven't seen yet.
They've seen but not discussed.
But not discussed,
Yeah,
right,
not
yeah.
met.
Yeah, we got it
Yeah.
Sunday,
It was-
so yeah, it was after
Right.
our last meeting, so.
So when we got it, same time
Yeah.
we got it, yeah. I presume you blind copy all of that.
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
So, selectmen too.
Are there any more public comments? No? Okay. I'd like to take a moment then to talk about something that came up at the last select board meeting. And there seemed to be some, there didn't seem to be, there was a discussion regarding personal use of municipal resources. And I will tell you from a personal level, I was a little bit, I don't wanna say shocked, I don't know what the right word is. I've been searching for 2 days for the right word to figure out how I feel about that whole, how it all transpired and what happened. There are at least several of us on this board who have had government jobs, whether it be local, municipal jobs, federal jobs, state level jobs. And I will tell you from my personal opinion, nowhere in our background and history and experience have we ever been allowed to make personal use of government property, taxpayer property. Whether it's not actual funds, like we're not misappropriating funds or using a credit card for our own benefit, but using trucks, using facilities, using resources. It's all created out of taxpayer money. It all belongs essentially to the taxpayers. And to make personal use of that for the benefit of not the entire town, but on individual is not only unethical, but in this state is illegal. According to the Constitution, according to case law, you can't do it. The reason I bring it up as an ABC person is it's a town policy that they need to look at, and I get that they're waiting for Cordell to give them a bit of a rendering, although Selectman Gray sat right there and read the thing out loud and said, you can't do it. So why we even see the need to have to go get that in writing is a little disconcerting to me. Why we would not, as a town, immediately jump on the, no, let's not do that with taxpayer money. Let's respect that. I get that there are individuals who believe it is a perk of the job. There's no such thing in government and public. When you're a public official or a public employee, that doesn't happen. To then also say that well, where are the complaints regarding this? It's irrelevant where the complaints are. The fact of the matter is, it happened. Those things happened. It was on Facebook with the one employee who used town glass to then turn around and say that it saved the town money is, in my estimation, ludicrous. It did not save the town money, in all probability, but no one knows because no one sat down and did the actual math to figure out what it cost in terms of fuel, depreciation to the vehicles and all that kind of stuff. The other thing about that is nowhere in the town minutes can I see where that opportunity for that glass was offered to the townsfolk. There may have been lots of people who wanted to go take a 5-gallon Home Depot bucket, scoop up some of that glass and take it home and do something with it. You cannot offer an opportunity to an employee without offering it to the entire town with regard to those kinds of things, okay? It's not done in virtually any public organization I've ever been aware of. Private companies, yes, they have the opportunity to do that. They can do whatever they want with their own company. But public organizations cannot do that, and I would be more than happy to sit with the selectmen, and when it comes time to revise that policy, to work with you to do that.
Yeah,
as
when
well as
we,
the-
when we, in our last meeting, we discussed if, and again, we did defer to Cordell, seeing as how he's town council at this point. But if that's the case and it is illegal, then what we're doing is not appropriate, then we are going to obviously get rid of the policy. That was our plan. We're not allowing anything to move forward at this point, and there has been a request at this point. So
I'm
that-
sorry, there has or
it
has
has not been.
been a request
Like to use town property, like there's, at this point, there's nothing,
Well, since that meeting, I'm sure not.
right, and I mean, again, it has been, I don't know.
You're not aware of
I'm
it.
not,
I
right,
wouldn't say there hasn't been. You're not aware of it.
I'm not aware of any, yes.
And I don't necessarily want to harp on this tonight. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. I just wanted the people at home and the folks who are here to know that, nowhere on public earth does it make sense to use government resources for personal gain. It just doesn't. And the fact that we even, as a town, we even entertained that idea, it scares me because there's so many things that can go wrong with that. So many things that could be held liable for. So many things that you're just, it's just not a good practice and never has been. And that's, again, the only reason I bring it up is because using those resources uses town funds. And those funds are the taxpayers' funds. They're not anyone here's funds or anyone in town's funds. They're the taxpayers' funds. And they should be used for taxpayer benefit. So, if anyone else has a comment, I'm happy to let you have the floor for a few minutes.
Could you just clarify what you just said? Something about
Can you
glass?
state name and everything, please?
Did
I'm
someone
sorry.
take?
Someone state their name for,
Oh, can you tell me your
Oh, I'm sorry,
name?
Bonnie Slater, Pine Hill.
Fine. Okay.
Did someone take glass? Is that what you're saying?
There was the glass pit in the transfer
Yes, yes,
station.
yeah.
Yeah. So normally once that gets full,
Right.
the whole town has to haul that away to somewhere
Right.
to get rid of it.
Right.
In this instance, it
I
was,
believe a company comes and hauls it away
or
for
a
us.
company comes
Yes.
and hauls it away for us. But it's gotten rid of. It goes somewhere other than the town.
Right.
In this instance, an individual employee of the town, and I don't know all the specifics, but that individual ended up with all that glass on their property to, I don't know, to fill in part of their property or whatever, but that glass,
It's crushed first.
it's
like
crushed,
sand.
yeah, yeah, it's not like, it's not like your broken bottles.
No, it's ground up, there's a machine that grinds it into,
So they're using it as
It's
fill?
ground.
like fill,
And
I
fill,
believe,
right,
yes.
that when you mix it with dirt
Okay.
and put it in the ground,
Okay.
it
All right.
creates a more
Okay.
stable
Gotcha.
surface.
All
Are they using town equipment to do that?
It's my understanding that that is what happened.
Oh,
I do
so
not,
that's
again,
not
I don't
okay.
have all of the specific details about it. I do remember the Facebook post and things of that nature,
Yes,
standing in front of the whole big,
bottles.
the whole big pile of it and that kind of thing, so,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome. But again, the point is, that kind of thing should not happen unless it's offered to everybody.
Sure, right,
Or bid on, or sold, or whatever.
right.
And then, hence the need for a policy which dovetails into other policies like the disposition of municipal property, like when it is time to get rid of something, what does that look
Well,
like, what does that
If it's
process?
the law, you can't do it, you can't do it, period.
But I'm a rather black and white person when it comes to those kinds of things, so I don't have gray areas when it comes to that.
Can I read the summary of the law? There are 3 or 4 different RSAs, and I won't read them. But the summary says, New Hampshire law and local ordinances strongly discourage and often forbid using municipal equipment for personal reasons, classifying it as misuse of public property with clear disciplinary consequences for violations. That's the summary. So there.
Again, we went, the town has gone back to, the town lawyer to get something in writing that shows,
Right.
don't do this.
Right, right.
Don't do this. And we're waiting on
Okay.
that. Do we have any estimate, Linda, when he'll get back to us on that?
I intend to have it for the selectmen for Tuesday.
I can't, I'm
I
sorry.
intend to have it for the selectmen on
Okay.
Tuesday.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Moving on. Now, unless there's anything else. No? Okay.
Oh, just on a side note, what Mr. McAllister says, it does not include emergency vehicles.
Right.
Because they're considered at the ready and they're welcome to take their.
Yes,
Just so
you're right. Just reading what,
Yeah, cause it's bound to
Summary.
come up.
Summary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Approved. All right, the next thing on the agenda is budget guidance development and timeline review. I have handed out to all of you the timeline, the updated timeline, for this year. And so we need to be mindful of those dates. What do we know here? I'll just grab this one. One of them being that Monday, February 2nd is the school's first deliberative session. I believe that we need to, and I'll get clarification, Linda can probably clarify this in a second. It says, on January 13th, the last day for the budget committee to deliver MSD budget and warrant article recommendations to the governing body for posting. So that's the date, by that date, we have to vote, yea or nay, on those.
Not on town.
No,
On the
MSD, on
Oh,
on
I
the
don't
MSD.
follow what the school needs to do. I have enough to figure out with my own stuff.
I'll double check with them, but I believe on the at the January 13th meeting, which I believe we actually have a meeting that night. Yes, we have a meeting that night, so I believe that, at that meeting, January 13th, we will need to vote on the school warrant articles and the school budget, and,
I believe you do that after the deliberate, we used to go in a corner and sit in a circle, and anyone could join in, and then take our vote on what happened on a deliberative. That's what we used to do.
the MSD's first deliberative session is not until February 2nd.
I know, I'm just saying that, because it gets changed.
I'll
People
get-
can change the numbers, right? Am I right? Yeah, they can make a motion to
Usually.
say, I wanna reduce this budget, or
And that's
At
why,
the deliberative.
whatever, yeah. And
At
then,
the
once that's finalized, then this.
but we're at that deliberative, and so
Yeah,
we can
right.
revote right then and there.
Yes, exactly.
Right, but we do still have a recommendation going into the deliberative session
Oh,
for what,
They have before, yes.
yeah, we have,
yeah, I do, maybe I just don't recall it, but I.
Yeah, I
yeah, you might not
remember-
remember it.
I remember the budget committee at the last public hearing on the budget, or when it's meeting after that meeting and taking their votes.
Right, and then we had to come back because they got reordered, and there were some other stuff that happened, that we needed to make sure, from the school's perspective, that we had our count correct. I'm sorry, did you have a question, sir?
Yes, I do. Tom Rankfus again. On this paper that you gave out, you have Tuesday, January 13th, and then the next date down is
Thursday, January 13th.
January 13th.
Yeah, it is,
It's Tuesday.
it is a Tuesday, sorry.
Okay.
15.
That's what happens when I cut and paste. Sorry.
I know the feeling.
Okay, so just that, make sure we're cognizant. I will double check with the school to make sure that nothing has changed. Check with school to, oh, actually, we have Deb. She can do that, right? I do have up here for anyone who is interested, this is the Madison School District Report Card from the fall of 2025. There's also a copy of the draft budget, along with the agenda from the last meeting that they had. Their meeting is the first Monday of every month, so I highly encourage individuals, if you have not gone to one of these meetings, go, because they go through that budget line by line, and you can understand where the money's gonna go and what's gonna happen when it's in there, so. But you're free, the rest, if you didn't go to the meeting, oh, you have one and you have one. For you guys, if you didn't go to the meeting, there's stuff here.
That pile right there.
Okay, so I think the next thing we need to do is, we've been talking about holding budgets and holding wage increases and holding, salaries and things of that nature. We do recognize that the town or the employee contribution for healthcare has gone up. We ran some numbers, or I ran some numbers in conjunction with some other folks, ran some numbers, and it from a numbers perspective, based on the increase to the health insurance, that if we held salary increases to a 2.25%, that would more than cover that increase to the health insurance and give them a little bit of wiggle room afterwards. But it would not necessarily create such a burden on the town and create such a burden on the budget. One of the things that I personally hope that the town is undertaking, because we've mentioned it a number of times, is a wage and salary matched against jobs and requirements, so that as we are aging people through a particular position in town, that they're still within some sort of a wage band, if you will. That we're not, and I'm gonna be like overly ridiculous about this, that we're not paying somebody $150,000 to shovel out in front of this, out here in front, because they've been in the, we're not, believe me, we're not. We're not, but that because of longevity.
Because they've been here
I'd
for
be
so
like,
long.
I'll take that job, right? Because they've been in that position for, because they've been in that position for so long, and they keep getting 2 and 3 or 4% increases. Now they're making an amount of money that's not commensurate with the responsibility of that job or the requirements of that job. That has to be looked at every so often. It has to be probably every 5 years, because inflation changes, requirements change, those kinds of things. That should be relooked at about every 5 years to make sure that our wage bands are staying within, for the police, state and federal requirements, county requirements, any of those things that have to happen for they're not regular employees, for other employees, that it's staying within those areas, those bands, and we're not paying someone, like I said, outside the band to do the job that the requirements aren't there to support it, to support that pay. So I would like to discuss with the board here a recommendation to the selectmen that, again, and we've communicated that we want them to hold wages lower, but I would like to be able to communicate to them that we want them to hold it to no more than 2.25%, recognizing that one of the pieces of work that has to be done is that wage band reevaluation definition. I'm not sure we even have one. I think we used to have one, but I think the town hasn't used it or hasn't updated it in probably over a decade.
And I was mulling this over. It gets a little, I hate to use the term muddy, with like the DPW, for instance, because we don't have an equipment operator, we don't have a truck driver. Each one, they do all the jobs. So a truck driver gets paid a little bit different, or it could be similar compensation to a equipment operator, but that band may be different. But if someone's doing truck driving and equipment operating, how do you reconcile those?
I think, again, that's where having some sort of, and if it requires a committee, then, I hate to form more committees, but then it requires a committee to take a look at it, sit down, and where is the majority of their time spent? If the majority of the time is spent doing the equipment operator, and they only do the driving piece of it 10%, it's an ancillary piece to the major job description. And that's where I think having correct and updated job descriptions, as well as what the person actually does, because we know job descriptions never tell the full story. They don't. So understanding what that person actually does when they come to work on any given day, and approximately how they spend their time. I spend, if it's an 8-hour day, I spend 2 hours doing this, I spend an hour doing that. And over the course of a month or 2 months, and it's different for the summer versus the winter, because you got other things going on. But looking at that, compiling it, and creating something that's useful and workable for the town, because then it also gives supervisors somewhere to go when you're looking at recommending any kind of salary increase or a promotion. Bids.
Well, it justifies.
Yeah.
Right.
Well.
Oh, sure, and I'm not
yeah.
saying,
No,
I'm not saying
right.
that this isn't a good idea. It's
No.
just like I said,
Right.
there's gonna be some work into
It has
kind
to
of
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and I'm not saying that this is gonna happen and, you know, by July, we're gonna know.
Right.
I mean, this could take us a year.
Right.
But again, in order to not exacerbate a potential issue, then again, I think that, especially when, you know, we just saw our taxes go up, and I don't wanna be Jackson, who just, if you saw the front page of the paper, had a 23% increase. You know, I think in order to kind of hold the line, but then also not penalize the employees because they are doing the job, they are doing work, they're doing good work, they're doing, you know, the employees are valuable to us.
Right.
But I think it's the supervisor's responsibility then to explain to them why this is happening. Why are we doing this? Why am I not getting you know, an 8 or 10% pay raise? Why, you know, I worked really hard. Why am I not? I asked for an 8% pay
Right.
raise. Why am I not getting it? Well, nobody's getting it in town this year. That kind of thing. So I want to hear from others.
I think it's one of the controls you have, that and health insurance. When you look through the budget, I think what comes to my mind, you look at the line item for the DPW for the salt. You don't have any control. You could use a lot more this year, it costs a lot more, so the increases sometimes are unavoidable. But I think, you know, in fairness, if you look at wages and you can justify, the increase along with the cost of living. You know, I was thinking of 3%, but you're suggesting a 2.2?
2.25.
2.25, yeah, I mean,
For 2026, the Social Security cost of living adjustment is 2.8%.
yeah, yeah.
And I think a lot of folks in our town are on Social Security, they're getting a 2.8% increase. However, Medicare Part B is going up 15%, from $180 to over $200,
something.
$211, something like that. No, I mean,
Yeah,
I think our budget and our wage increases should be in line with the COLA, right? That's what we're all getting. And I think that's a fair approach.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
What's your how do you feel about a COLA raise versus a merit raise?
That's true.
I think when you have the ability to have a budget that allows for a merit increase, then absolutely. I'm also, you know, I've always done merit increases based on a pool of money. So you have 10 employees, and if your increases, you know, the agreement is the increases are gonna be no more from a budgetary standpoint than, I'm gonna pick a number, a 5% increase in the budget, then the town, it's not the town, the selectmen would then apportion that and say, okay, if 5% of the town's salary budget is, I'm gonna make up $100,000. Okay, DPW can have 50 of that, the town, other pieces, library can have this piece of it, and, you know, other organizations, the police, the whoever. I also recognize that some of our employees, especially the police, are guided a lot by, state
Union contracts.
and union contracts, right? So there's some of it in there. So we have to be mindful of that too when we're doing it. But I think you start with a pool, create a pool, and then apportion it. And that gives you, if you have 5 employees and you have a pool of, I'm gonna make up a number again, $10,000, and from a merit standpoint, or from a cost of living increase or whatever, it's 5%, that's the max, I can divvy up that 5% or that $10,000. However, I as the supervisor, you know, see fit and people's performance within there. Okay, it allows some flexibility on the supervisor's part to, I wanna say, reward those individuals who are working really hard and or who started at a lower salary to bring them up. But it also allows you to hold the line on what that increase is gonna be overall. So, does that make sense?
Can I?
Yes, ma'am?
I appreciate that number you threw out because, and I feel like I was a lone wolf for the last 5 years, you know, have been really hard on our family financially, so I was in here saying, please, COLA is only this, and we just kept giving out the higher raises. So that's why I feel like maybe we have to make up for a little bit of that. The last 4, you know, it's been a tough, you know, 5 years, and it's time Like, I was the only one saying, I don't know why, I've been in this town for 23 years, and there's been plenty of years where I remember Mr. Ruda saying, no raises, we can't afford it, no raises, we can't afford it. And so, but we kept going well over COLA for all these last, inflation years.
Right.
And so I appreciate trying to backtrack and then trying to make those salary ranges for each position, I think is a great idea. It also is fairer to the employee, because they can see where they cap out at. If I stay here for 5 years, if I stay exactly reevaluated for 5 years, they can see my regular pay is gonna max out. How can I wanna stay here for the benefits, but I can supplement doing this, gives them more choice in
Or
their
I can,
lives,
or
their
I
personal
can,
lives.
yeah, get a promotion
Yeah.
and move. And I recognize in a small town with only really, 13 employees, full-time employees, that may be difficult to do, but there are other creative ways to reward people.
Right.
There are other ways to empower them, and, money is only one part of it. But I also do recognize, you still need to pay your bills. So people still need to get paid. And they still need to be able to afford to live in their house and pay their taxes and do all the things that need to be done as a citizen, so.
I have
Just
some
been-
thoughts.
Yeah.
So, obviously my background's education, so, I kinda am familiar with a collective bargaining agreement and how that works, and, having a math degree, also understand and have tried to, explain to some of my coworkers, that a step kind of system is not beneficial to employees in the long run, because you're taking small amounts of steps to get to this end of this schedule that is this certain amount. Whereas if you got to that amount the first year you were hired, you would be making, even if you never got an increase over the 30 years, but you started at that last amount, you would be making more money over the lifetime of your employment than by taking all those little steps. So, so in terms of, I like the discussion of cost of living versus raise. I think it's more beneficial to an employee to come in and know this is your salary, this is what it is going to be, and we do the research to know that it's legitimate, it's a good paying wage, and we stay up with cost of living. And then there's lots of little things you can do for employees if you want them to stay longer. You've got a good employee. Like, I think of teachers, 10 years of experience, you're a pretty well-versed teacher, you get a big jump at that 12 years because you're now proving that your skills warrant a big jump. But in terms of making the little jumps and getting a 2% raise this year and a 5% raise, I think the employee would benefit more from having that in an initial salary for a long period of time than making these little jumps. And then it does allow them the flexibility to know, like, this is what I'm gonna be making, and I'm gonna, my salary's gonna stay up with cost of living. But if I wanna supplement here or there, or if I'm not satisfied, I can start looking someplace else. But you could also give longevity incentives as well. So if you have an employee that's, maybe it's not in a town position, you have 10 years experience, you're a much better equipment operator than you were 10 years ago, but it's, you stayed with us for 10 years. So now we appreciate you by giving you this extra amount. So it's just my perspective in terms of doing all the merit raises sound wonderful, but if you really look at long-term, and if you're committed to being in a position long-term, you want to make the most money you can the sooner you can. So those little jumps are not as good, I don't think. But
Well, and I think that that's something then that whatever, or, you know, whatever group of people, whether it's just the selectmen who do it or whether they commission a committee to help with that, I think that's something they need to look at. I'm not here to propose any kind of step increases or longevity increases. I think that that all has to be looked at in aggregate with regard to the positions and what those wage bands might look like. And what I'm trying to avoid is someone having been in a position for 15, 20 years and they've actually waged out of the requirements for that position. You're paying them more than if you brought somebody in new would make significantly lower, even with, you know, the same level of experience, that kind of thing. I just don't wanna see people exceed that wage band and we continue to just blindly give them increases for having been here. So, but
Well,
again, that's something I think.
And I do think that that's a concern of mine, just looking at it from a personal perspective. I'm a 30-year teacher and make $80,000, which I think is good. But knowing that there are some equivalent town positions that are not full-time that make almost as much is, as a taxpayer, makes me upset.
Well, and I mean, I get that there are differences necessarily between, you know, what you're doing, like an educator versus, a file clerk, that kind of thing. So, and again,
Yeah.
that's one of the things I'm trying to avoid is that, you know, a 30-year file clerk now makes more than the town administrator or something, you know. That's not the case. I'm just saying that could be, depending on how long an individual stayed with our current system and how we're currently doing it, because we don't have necessarily those bands to look at and bounce it off of and use experience. When you hire somebody, I'm not hiring them at the lower end of the band, I'm hiring them at the middle to higher end because they have more experience, those kinds of things, so.
Yeah, or to know just in general that our salaries or wages that we're offering are good ones. Like, not that we're just going by the suggestion of the employee or pulling numbers out of the air, but we've actually done research and look at our surrounding towns and what kind of
Right.
people make in the same positions. I think that's just smart.
Absolutely,
Just
so.
one thing I want us to brace for is the potential of doing this and realizing that we grossly underpay our staff.
If that's the case,
Right.
then the next step for the selectmen and the ABC
Right, I
is to
just-
sit down and say, okay,
'cause-
now how do we fix
Exactly,
this?
no, I just, cause I know that, for instance, a Class A CDL driver can make far more money than we pay.
Yeah, but they don't get to live in Madison.
Well, no, and believe me, I'm not saying they wanna leave or anything, but it's just something for us to think of. I mean,
Correct.
I do, and I understand there's benefits with this position, I get that, and there's not always at other places, but it is.
So one of the things that I've always talked about in every position that I've been in is total compensation.
Oh, absolutely,
Not
right.
salary, total compensation. How many vacation
Yes.
days do you have? How
Yep.
many hours
Right.
per week do you work? What are your health benefits? What are your retirement benefits? What are all of that package? What does that package look like? So at the end of the day, the tangible piece of it is, what is Linda budgeting for when she has to put that spreadsheet in with the FICA and everything else? This is what your actual earnings are. This is what the tangible and then the intangible ones of flexibility in your job, those kinds of things. Those are worth something to people.
Oh, absolutely.
So I
Yes.
think it's important to make sure that whatever
Apples
group
to
does
apples.
this, whatever
Yeah.
group does this is able to convey that
A
point.
rough number is the benefits with that position are about 2x the salary.
Right.
Right, somebody's making 50,000, it's
They're
really
gonna get-
$100,000 compensation with the paid vacation, holidays,
Yep.
insurance, life insurance, retirement benefits.
Right. So.
And I think also, because the school has run into this situation too with positions that they have not been able to fill. So the way to try to entice people to fill them is to increase the benefits they get or the wage that they get. And that would be I think a natural reaction to having positions that you're unable to fill. I'm not sure if that's the situation on the town side, whether we often have open positions that we cannot fill. Cause if that were the case, if there was a lot of turnover, that would tell me that people are, there's a reason that they're not satisfied, and so they're leaving. But if we don't have that, then that would say to me that possibly the compensation packages are good. Or in relation to all the other things they get, makes them want to stay. I don't think we would want them to leave, so we wanna make sure our wages are competitive and they're sound wages so that people can live comfortably. But those, I think, are all things that the town selectmen probably do look at, and I would hope they would look at. And if they have some way of moving forward to look at these things like you suggested, that would be part of the discussion.
But as an employer, we wanna look at the long picture, which is exactly this, all these various benefits. As an employee, what do I look at? Do I
Look at my
look at all of it? What do I take home today? That's all I look at. Yeah, there's other things in there, but as an employee, I don't look there.
And that's where I
the
think
short view.
the employer's responsibility is, so one of the conversations I would always have with people in paper was, look, this is what your paycheck's gonna say, but this is what you're really earning when it comes to, if you contribute to an IRA or we're contributing to your 401k for you, you actually gain benefit, an additional tax benefit. So your $50,000 a year now goes to $58,000 a year because of these other pieces. And it's incumbent on the employer to be able to convey that to an individual. Yes, ma'am. You had a
We do
question?
that for everyone at the very beginning of the year. You get a sheet that says this is what your compensation is over the year, and it details how much the town puts in towards New Hampshire retirement, how much the town puts in towards your FICA. All those things are all listed on that form
And then there's a
for
bottom
everyone.
line number that says, this is what your total compensation is.
I don't know if
So
we
you're not
added
making-
it up, but it.
You're not making
but each
30,
thing
you're
is-
making 40?
Each thing is called out there. is
Might be a
what
good
we
idea.
added.
It's still a difficult conversation.
Absolutely.
I need to excuse myself for 2 seconds. I stole my wife's keys and she needs them. I'll be back. She just texted me. She has to pick up my son.
Uh-oh.
Pardon me.
Okay, so I don't wanna continue to necessarily beat this to death, but I do think it's important, when it comes to conveying to the selectmen where we stand. I don't know, previously, we've not had to vote on a recommendation to the select board to hold the salary increases to a certain percentage or don't go above it. Linda, you can clarify that for me if we need to. But I do wanna make sure that there's concurrence with that. I don't wanna just be the one saying the select board needs to make sure the salary increases are held to 2.25%.
I think you make a recommendation.
Well, we do, but I
Yeah.
wanna make sure we're all in concurrence with that recommendation.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
When we talk about this, so, did the selectmen take into account or are considering any changes in health insurance?
They did the 10%. They did,
Okay.
Oh, they
yes.
did.
Yes.
So that plays into my decision of, because they're going to be required to pay more towards their insurance.
Right, and this 2.25% compensates for that.
Okay, so
covers
it gives them cost of but I'm just making sure, I don't want anybody to go backwards is what I want, is,
No,
No,
I
They
wanna
won't.
make sure they're
They won't.
moving
It
forward.
covers and then more.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. That
Yeah.
was my only concern.
Yep, no, and mine too, because again, I don't wanna force people to go backwards necessarily. But I also know we can't take giant steps forward because of the situation that we're in with regard to the budget. And as you said, Nan, there are some things we
Right.
cannot control.
Right.
We cannot control those expenses for, vehicles that we've already committed to. We can't control things like we need salt for the roads and
I mean, that's the
it's
one that
now
make me-
$80 a ton
Right.
and it's a huge expense.
And to, as far as the health insurance, I appreciate what the town has done.
I do
And
too.
have gone to the 10%, so maybe that was my rationale for the, having the higher 3%. But, because I think they worked on it, they did it, and that's appreciated,
Yes, yes,
so.
very much so.
In inflation this year, I just verified the number, is 3%. And for the
Yeah.
social security, they use a
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
And
means
adjusted,
to measure, and
Yeah.
it's 2.8%.
Yeah.
So, but our actual adjusted prices have gone up about 3% this year. just for a reference to our
Yeah.
normal discussion.
And, you know, and everybody knows, I mean, I'm sure there's not a family out there that isn't in a little bit of a belt tightening mode.
Times are
Um,
tough.
Yeah, that, and Joe, you see it as part of the food pantry, but I think for the long-term health of the town and the long-term health of our taxpayers, that this is the right move to make. Do I have any disagreement?
No,
No,
I think
no,
that's
okay.
that's why I was mentioning the
Yeah.
COLA, as Nicole brought up as
Yeah.
well.
So
You know,
then,
at least we have something to measure to,
right,
you know, if that's, okay, it's 2.8% is what our taxpayers are getting, you know,
Yeah.
people on social security, so there's something to compare to.
okay. So that's our budget guidance.
Mm-hmm.
Is hold that, well, at least for the salaries, is hold salary increases to 2.25%, max 2.25%. There may be brand new employees who the town decides doesn't need to have a pay increase this year, that it can wait until the next year kind of thing. Anything else in terms of guidance development that we want to discuss? That's the biggest thing right now, and I think that's the biggest number for Linda. And as I understand it, Linda, none of the department head salary increases are in this budget that you gave me? They're not in there?
I don't believe so, the selectmen haven't given
Yeah.
anything.
Okay. Well, now they'll have a 2.25% recommendation from us for, and we'll see what they do with that. You know, and when you look at the entire budget, and even if you go line by line and try to figure out where you can cut things, you're really only looking at about maybe a $200,000 cut.
Mhm.
But a $200,000 cut is still a significant cut. It's a significant piece, especially when you're looking at, what was it, you know, an 8% increase. Some of those increases, obviously, like we said, are things that we can't control. But there are increases that we can control. And there are things that we can take a look at, like if we order, and I'm gonna pick on salt only because we just talked about it with the $80 a ton. If we're ordering 600 tons of salt, do we need 600 tons of salt? How much, over the last 5 years, the average have we used in salt for the roads? And does 600 tons make sense? Or does only 550 make sense, which saves us, you know, $4,500 somewhere? I mean, $4,500 doesn't sound like it's a lot, but if every line is $4,500, then it is a lot at the end of the day. So I would challenge the selectmen to help go back to the department heads and say, look at this, do you really need this? And we'll continue to help you. We'll get into the different departments, but Chief is here, and so I wanna kind of take him first, because I had a specific question for him, and it may be a spreadsheet issue, that it's not adding up correctly, or it's not. So in his, salary for full-time officers line, it says 3% raises for 172 and 173, but then the percent change is 4.08%. And so I don't know, I mean, you're probably gonna have to,
I rechecked those numbers,
Okay.
and it's just for the,
just for those two.
those two positions,
Right.
and I'm confident they're both at individual 3% increases, so.
So then I don't know, so then maybe there's a formula error in the spreadsheet that gives us 4.08%. I don't know, Linda, if you could double check that for us, please.
Where do you see 4.08?
It says percent change, 4.08%. If the only change to that line is a 3% raise, then the percent change should be 3%.
Say 4.08?
4.1.
I have 4.08. The police revised one that you gave me shows 4.08.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at, yeah, sorry. That's a little, gotcha. I'm looking at something else.
I mean, it may have
I think this rounds,
rounded to 4.1.
this rounds to a one,
Okay,
yeah,
to
one digit.
okay, so 4.1, 4.08, that's still different than 3%. And then Chief, you had some more information regarding, because I had talked to you about the 2.25%.
Yeah, so I think everything what you said is fair as far as the health insurance increase and then also the cost of living increase. I mean, together, it is what it is. My concern is that I think law enforcement's a little bit different than every other department in the town. In that, like every other town around us has competitive wages, incentives. I'm not sure what the little incentives are for the police department, other than we have a take-home car to take call with, which we don't get paid for, which is a legal issue that some of the chiefs in the county have been talking about. I wasn't gonna do it this year because it's substantial, but I'll give you an example. Jackson Police pays their officers $50 a night to take call. So I go, for instance, I send a patrolman home, they're in bed at night sleeping, an emergency comes up, they get called out of bed between the hours of 11 p.m. and 3 a.m., which we split call. They get $50 just to be there, to be available. That officer takes call, say, 4 nights a week when they're on duty. Over the year, that's $10,000 that officer in Jackson is getting that the officers in Madison are not. Other agencies like the sheriff's office are considering going to $25 on call per night. It's not a lot, but it's something. And other towns are considering $1. It's legal compensation, and I've worked here for 18 years, and I can't tell you the amount of hours of call I've taken that I still take. That in other towns, like I'm not going to name chiefs, but there are chiefs in this county that do not take call like I do, and I don't get compensated for it. But I'm at home all day on a Sunday when I have nobody on because we're short-staffed, and my family's out doing things, and whatever, it is what it is. I've been here for 18 years for a reason. It's because the town has always treated me fairly. It's been competitive with other towns, and I enjoy the work environment. And I think it's important that 3% is about $6 a day for these officers, especially for this year where my officers. I still have one officer he's going to be going on workers' comp soon because he was given 110% at the academy and essentially blew his shoulder out. So we're still down 3 people doing 4-person job. We're taking more call. I think there's justification in that small increase for those 2 officers especially because they take a bulk of the call. I think there really is no other incentive for us. I get a take-home car, which we agree to take call. I get a take-home gun, thank God. But I don't know what other incentives there are other than a 3% raise for the police department. I'll leave it at that. And I do anticipate, and I haven't had the conversation with the selectmen yet, I intend to, at least considering what type of compensation, if there's something we need to talk to the town attorney about, because it's just, there's some legal issues, and I feel like if we do skip out on that, you may see someone go to Jackson for $10,000 more, like the last officer did. You may see someone go to the sheriff's office, like 2 Conway police officers have done. It's very competitive out there. We go off of a state pay scale, and it's constantly being uploaded. I can share a copy of it with you. They've done it for the last 2 years. And there's a reason why I pay a patrolman $35 an hour, which is how much probably an 8-year corporal makes. Because we do more. My patrolman does as much as a 10-year detective does. She's the patrol officer, she's the detective, she's the liaison to the school. We do all these things that a Conway patrolman doesn't do. He's just out driving around answering calls for service. So yeah, I don't know how we develop that pay scale to match what other towns and municipalities are doing. I think it's way more complicated than what we're going to figure out tonight. But there's a reason, like I said, I've been here for 18 years, and there's been years when I've been called the town scab because I had a contract in years when no one else in the town was getting raises, and the selectmen said no raises, but I was still entitled to one because I committed to staying here. And there's value in it. It may not be the value this year, but it'll be value 10 years from now when, you know, the sergeant is the chief of police and the patrolman is, you know, they're still here, so.
So if I understand, you're on call, is somebody on call every night,
We're on call every night. Yep.
and no compensation? I mean,
The idea has always been you get a take-home car, which is
That's your
great. I
compensation.
don't complain. I love having a take-home car.
But
But there is a requirement, you know, I gotta be there, you know, when.
available.
Yeah, when someone's getting assaulted on a Sunday afternoon.
But your take-home car is not for you to go get groceries with. It's only for police work.
Right, yeah, but I'll tell you, on my way home from work, I pick my kids up from school. You know,
And that's
yeah,
authorized,
yeah,
because it's called an
so-
incidental use.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not-
yeah,
it's
yeah,
not
yeah,
talking-
but yeah, no, I don't take it, no, I'm not doing personal
No.
work.
I struggle with that. I worked as an operating room nurse, and you took call every night, or it alternated, and you were compensated.
Yeah,
I mean, it was
that's-
just part of the job. I don't know.
I think, I didn't realize, Chief, that your officers and yourself, when you're on call like that in the middle of the night, you're not being compensated. That, I don't think
Well, I
that's
didn't
right.
realize you were on call in the middle of the night. I thought the
No,
sheriff's
the
department
officers should be
was.
paid for the
So-
time
Still
that
with
they're
count.
I can
working.
give you
They're
a
on
quick
duty.
layout of how the
Yes.
county is structured right now.
Mhm.
There several towns, Eaton, Albany, they have deputies that are committed to those towns. If there's nobody on duty for the state police, which goes in at 1 a.m. and they come back out at 6 a.m., there is nobody out there. The sheriffs are not on duty, they're not a 24-hour agency, they're not gonna call the sheriff's office to cover a call that we are on call for. So they will call us directly out of bed.
Oh, jeez.
I was out of bed at 1 a.m. on Thanksgiving morning for a domestic violence pistol whipping. So they're, you know, weekly we're out. And state police are trying to get back to full staff. There was a time when they were 24 hours, and they're just not there yet. It may be several more years. But yeah, if we don't have anybody on duty, we're on call. Even when the sheriff's department is on call, if they have someone that can cover a call, say on a Sunday afternoon, they will cover it for us if they have a deputy available. Other towns like Tamworth, who are, you know, 2 officers or who are down, they prioritize what towns they're covering, and the sheriff's office is coming back to full staff too. But yeah, there's not, you know, if I'm on call, we take it very seriously. I
I'm
mean,
sure,
you
yeah.
don't want to be like down at the hardware store buying screws when they call you,
Right.
to be back home in your cruiser like in a minute.
But that $50 you get for a call is on top of.
They don't get.
No, they
So-
don't.
No, yeah, we don't get any compensation for calling.
Here.
Here.
Jackson.
Here.
Other
Jackson,
towns,
other
yeah,
towns.
Conway is considering it for their detectives.
Oh, so you don't get in, if you get called out at 2 a.m. or one of your officers do, they don't get any compensation?
There's no compensation to be at your house on call.
But-
They'll
but-
get compensated, you know, a time and a half when they get called
If
out.
they take a
Okay.
call,
Yep.
they'll
I
get
was
some
gonna say, this is-
payment.
Right,
So
right,
that's on
right,
top of
right,
their
right,
salary.
right.
Yes,
That's-
so,
that-
Well, that
yeah,
makes
so
sense.
the thing is, and it's the restrictive nature of being on call.
Yes,
Like
yes.
you know, at nighttime, you know, you're asleep, I mean, whatever, you're at home, but there are days when, you know, a Sunday afternoon when someone's on vacation and there's a requirement,
Yeah.
you know, you have to be there.
No, the officers should be compensated for
I
their
agree.
time. If you're on duty and it's restricting your personal time off with your family because you need to cover tonight, they should be compensated somehow for that.
And it's not something, like I said, it's not something I'm pursuing this year. I'd like to see what other towns are doing, you know, but to start, you know, if these officers get these raises this year, you know, that's a huge jump. I mean, comparatively, you know, we don't always look at it as, you know, the wage, like we look at other incentives as well, and I think compensation for on-call is a massive attraction because, you know, we haven't had an officer here for 2 years. You know, I have one now, I'm getting him on board, but people will go where the money is. It doesn't matter what the form of it is, if
No,
it's, you
you
know,
can't
that
blame people.
total number of your wage per year, but also that extra stipend. You know, a shiny car is nice too to take home, but nobody wants that if they're not gonna get paid for it.
Can can I ask a question? Just cause I'm confused about, and maybe you're not gonna memorize it, but I'm just the incidents in my life, like, were we always on? Like, I had an incident in my neighborhood and it was a trooper and two deputies that came, and then I had another incident where you were there in the middle after hours, and then another incident where it was only deputies, and I'm like, what? I never know, like, are we on all night or are we not on all night? So I just, like, what's the policy? I
It
never
really,
knew.
yeah, there's no policy, so,
Like, how to
per
make it
se.
trackable,
so
you know what I mean?
the policy, really, we sign on, the requirement is we're gonna take call. You have a take-home car, we'll take call, we'll be available. I don't know statutorily how that works for officers.
Right.
Now that there's the legal requirement to be compensated, maybe we were doing it wrong for the last 18 years. But when John Pickering hired me, he said, "You're taking call, you get a take-home car." And I said, "Great, that's awesome." When you have the state police show up to your house, it's because you called for emergency services and they were available and they came. I may have been on call, but they were there and they're happy to take those.
And they tell you, like, you tell you not to come, like, I'm trying to
They
figure
don't
out,
even
like.
call me. They don't even
So
tell
how
me.
would you not, oh, they won't call you?
I'll look up the next
Okay.
morning in the police log and say, "Oh, so-and-so called,
Yeah,
the state police were available," and they still will cover those calls up to 1 a.m. if they're available. But there's only 2 troopers on, if you're lucky, at nighttime, and they cover both Carroll County and Belknap County.
Yeah.
Wow. So
Jeez.
those troopers may be on duty,
well, I think
but,
we had a little too much police presence.
Yeah.
All the police there.
and really the troubling thing is, you know, you don't understand that yes, there are 2 troopers on in the county, but they are covering Belknap County too. So if they're tied up in Belknap County and there's an emergency, they're not gonna, you know, they can get to Carroll County in 30 minutes, but when there's an emergency, they're gonna call whoever's on call. And that's kind of the sweet spot of how it works.
So they're the first reaction after hours. It's the state, then the sheriff's,
The sheriff's not
then-
gonna cover calls for us, yeah. If the sheriff's office goes in at 11 p.m. at night, if I stay out till 10 a.m. tonight and something happens between 10 and 11 p.m. and there's a deputy available to say handle alarm, they'll probably cover it. If they're about to go off duty at 10:59, they're probably gonna call me and tell me to go check it.
I mean, the incident I'm referring to was 11:30 and 2 deputies came, and
Yeah.
and a stadium.
Yep. And so some of the guidance we've gotten from the sheriff's office is the sheriff has been coming down, putting pressure on the chiefs to have more officers on call, because in turn, his budget's turned upside down because now he has to pay officers and deputies overtime to cover those extra calls, and he's feeling pressure to get more officers on the road. It's a vicious cycle, and he's wondering, what are these small towns doing to pick up their burden and really their requirement to cover their own towns is what he wants.
Chief, when one of your officers get calls out at 2:00 in the morning, do they get like a minimum 2-hour pay or something?
We used to be
You know,
2
how-
hours. Yep,
is-
we used to
How,
be-
how fair is the compensation to respond, the middle of the night like
It's-
that?
It's fair. It used to be 2 hours. I've bumped it up to 4 hours.
Okay.
Just because, some of these officers Tessa will get to Wolfboro where she lives and get turned right back around to go back into town and be in town for, 3-4 more hours. And some of these calls last for 5 hours. It's, and it throws off your whole day. And in turn, if you're working a day shift after being on call that night and getting called out, I can't send an officer out who's been out all night on call and then back onto a day shift.
Go back full-time.
So I would say, 2 hours at overtime rate, or even 4 hours now is
So it's 4 hours or time and a half.
Right.
Right now,
Yep.
just so we know what we're dealing with.
Yeah,
Yeah,
every
just,
time.
Yeah.
want to
Yeah,
make sure the
I-
officers are fairly compensated too
Yeah.
for,
and I've
For,
bumped it up to 4.5, and that's just for the patrolman. Jake, the sergeant and I we're salary, so we don't take that type of compensation.
So, I have a question. So, I know this isn't in place, but hypothetical, if you did like a $50 when you're on call, they would get the $50 no matter what, whether they were called out or not.
Right.
And so if they had a call, they would get the $50 plus their time and a half for the 4.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And it would be, and this is still a ways out in development, but just the models that some departments are taking on is, there is gonna be a minimum, you're just not gonna be on call for an hour and take $50, like, it's gonna be like a 4-hour minimum of call in that there's a restriction and a requirement to be there. And generally, yeah, if you're getting called out, the overtime rate, I mean, it's more than 4 hours generally.
So $50 a night for 365 nights of coverage is an $18,250 increase in the police budget for compensation
Per
for them.
officer.
For what?
Well,
No,
no,
it's
it's-
only one
If
officer.
you have one
So
officer.
one
on
officer
call.
per night, so you got 365 nights you gotta
Okay.
cover at
Well,
$50 a night.
so how this works is, say tonight, I'll take call from now until 3 a.m. And then the day car officer will take from 3 a.m. on. So
So it's
there's
$100 a
It's
day.
it's $100 a night, right? That's what Jackson is doing.
34K a year.
But
36.
like I said, for me, I take
36K, sorry, yeah, my bad.
So I take call, so it's not, I don't get affected by it. I mean, ultimately, I think in the future, maybe my salary goes up because I'm a chief that takes call. There are other chiefs that don't, and it's not reflected in that, but, once there's more patrolmen on the road, that burden is lessened. So I don't, that big number isn't the number you're gonna see. Maybe it's not $50 a night or per officer, it's, we start low, I think. There's no need to,
Figure it out after
Right.
that, yeah.
and like I said, I'd rather wait to see what other towns are doing, cause there is a mix, there's such a massive difference in how different towns are built, Ossipee wants to go back to 24 hours. Jackson, their chief is retiring next year. There's just always flow, they call it the Carroll County shuffle. One officer leaves, someone else says, ooh, that looks good, I'm gonna move there. Then there's just backfill. And everyone's frantically looking like piranhas on dead flesh in the water to see what's gonna taste the best. And it is a flurry, and it can be damaging to a small agency like us, where it costs us an insane amount of money to hire someone,
Oh, yes, train them.
to train them, to outfit them. It's like just less of a headache to just pay. Try to be competitive, not overly competitive,
Yeah.
but and then just you keep them there as long as possible, and ultimately they're gonna leave, but. The hope is that you'll get someone like me that's gonna have long-term value, and I have officers that live in town who feel the burden, and are cognizant of it. But I want to have something to be competitive with, and if it's a small raise or some sort of incentive that's monetary value, that can keep people here, that's the value that I want to keep. So.
No, there's nothing more critical, I think, for any of us in town is when you dial 911, the chief or his officers show up at 2 o'clock in the morning. And they should be fairly compensated for that.
I have a question. Does the town get called out once a week, twice a week, 5 times?
Oh, the average.
Well, it varies.
It comes and goes. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been called out twice in the last, 2 weeks. One week after another for substantial calls that are 5+ hours.
Oh.
There are some weeks where you get nothing, but then there are some weeks where, yeah, it can be
Over the top.
a couple
You
at a
don't
time,
know.
yeah.
Okay.
It's usually around the full moon,
So-
right?
Holidays are the
Holidays.
busy.
Holidays.
July,
Holidays are the
Christmas,
worst.
Thanksgiving,
All the fights, the drums, everything, oh yeah.
family fun.
Family fun, yeah, domestic fights,
And I did have one more question. Your salary, holiday, full-time, it shows 0 expended. It's $13,000 line that has nothing
Yeah,
expended.
I just had that, we just paid that out just before, last pay period.
Yeah,
Is it-
that,
okay, it has-
up
but
in the,
so-
up in the corner, what you're looking at is a little, it has the date. Are you looking at
This one here says holiday, you said holiday full-time, it says approved 1302,
Nope.
this is 11/9/1120,
Yeah, so we view, they, 91.6%.
Yeah.
has been expended,
Of the 1302?
yeah.
Yeah,
And part of
I was
that,
looking at the one that I had, I didn't look at the one you sent.
Yeah, well,
Well, and I recognize there are some things that get paid later in the year, and so I was just questioning, like, if that's gonna get used,
It
but
did.
close to
Yes.
all of it?
91.6%.
91.6%, okay.
yeah,
Just, it didn't make sense if you weren't gonna use any of it, why you would ask for an
I
increase.
should be taking it out earlier. This is my first year, so I'm still.
Okay,
that-
that's okay.
Yeah.
You'll know next year, take it out halfway through and, divvy it up. Does anybody else have any questions for Chief? on
Thank
his
you very
budget?
much for your.
Thank you, yeah, for your
Thank
time.
you.
Yeah, and one thing I'm about to send it to Linda as well, and it's not on that current proposal for next year, is I was gonna add $1,000 to my computer support.
Oh, I don't think so. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. Your decision though. Mainly with this new upgrade the sheriff's office is doing, I'm not sure exactly what is covered as far as computer support from the company, but to get someone here to do all the loading, I just wanna make sure that I have something there for that to be,
So that's in your computer support line?
yes.
We'll increase it another $1,000, so it'll go to
6,600.
6,600, okay.
It's good for 1 hour.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe 5.
Let's check increase. Another. Facilitate the change to new system. Okay, anything else?
That's it. Thanks for all the work you're doing on it.
No, thank you very much for,
Yeah.
and I know you already worked a full day, so to come.
It's on call.
On call.
On call. On call the rest of the night.
For free.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a problem with salary position.
Yeah.
And
Have a good night, Chief.
I wouldn't get out of bed.
That's the thing, I didn't realize they were uncompensated like that.
I didn't realize they were on all night anymore. I thought they gave that up
I-
years ago.
Yeah, because.
They picked it back up when the state police dropped off and the sheriff
Yeah.
dropped
Sheriff
off.
dropped off. When, so
I'm just
when
saying that wasn't
approximately
my
was
COVID.
that?
experience. I had 80s and.
Okay, so
Sheriff-
Surely
I had
you're
an
in.
emergency in the,
Yeah,
at 5
it's
o'clock
like,
in the morning and no police showed
No, it
up
was
from
my
anybody.
neighborhood. Terrible.
Actually, nobody from the
I
town
would-
showed up
I-
at all.
Again, I said COVID. It was surely because I know during COVID and after the state police lost a substantial amount, there was a lot of retirement in that area.
Yeah.
So I think more recently in the past few years, they've dropped back to not being 24
And-
hours.
and
They're
I-
still short,
Yeah.
like 100 troopers or
Mhm.
some,
imagine.
a big number.
Yeah.
They were actively recruiting.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
can't
but they
find-
can't, they
Well,
can't find-
there was a couple of years there just post-COVID where, police were,
Yeah,
Oh,
highly scrutinized.
and,
Thankless.
Yeah.
acts of
Wonderful
violence
job.
against them.
Right,
and,
yeah.
you know,
The
I
people, like I said,
remember-
people that were of retirement age
Yeah.
said,
Yeah,
giddy up, I'm
Right.
done. Yeah.
Just like the teachers.
Alrighty.
okay.
Moving right along.
So, moving right along. We have significant work to do on some of these budgets, to take a look at these budgets and figure out, because a sustainable amount, at the end of the day, for a budget increase of 8.6%, and this doesn't include, so it's 8.6% before department head pay increases are in here, correct?
From what I'm seeing now, I guess there are some in here, cause police had theirs figured in, library has
Right,
some
has
figured
their
in.
figured in.
I don't think.
If we're,
Yeah, but I mean, like the, the town folk upstairs, like your position, Linda's, or not, you are Linda, Kate's position, although I saw,
I put in,
For
but those
Kate.
numbers haven't been approved by this, like I said.
Okay. We're still in the
It
middle of
hasn't been
reviews at
reviewed
this
by the
point.
selectmen.
Right.
one thing that concerns me, just going through the rough draft and some of the other things that have been discussed at the Board of Selectmen meetings, is we're looking at let's say an 8.6% budget increase.
Yeah.
Then you put the warrant
Articles
articles,
on
the
top.
proposed warrant articles on top of that, we're talking a huge tax increase next year. I mean, you throw in, you know, several $1 million, if not more, in warrant articles, you know, we're up to a 10-12%.
Speaking of which, do we have at least a
Yes.
draft of those warrant articles of what that all looks like? Do you have anything?
Sorta, I played
Sorta
with it,
just
I played with it today, there wasn't anything crazy.
I saw,
Well, I know the
one
third-
meeting, there was a bond, proposed bond for 1.5 million.
Well, it was
That was shut down? Okay.
it was discussed. It wasn't proposed. It
No,
was
but- okay.
looking forward to the roads and paving, what needs to be done in the near future. One of the ideas was floated that in the next, either this year, next year, to kind of get ahead of the decay was
No,
to,
I
was the
understand.
bond, right?
No, I
It-
understand that
nothing-
we need it.
we haven't, that was just, it was just a.
That's discussion.
I just
Right,
saw
right,
that.
just discussion,
Yeah.
right, yes.
From the BOS meeting,
Yes,
that's
yep.
the reason I brought
But
it
we
up.
Yes.
do have from the, this is from months ago,
That was,
from the
that was for this
DPW
year, yeah.
was for Mooney Hill, Town Line, East Shore.
Yeah, the proposed,
That's $443,000.
yeah, that's the proposed
Which is
stuff.
not much more than it was last year.
No, we
Right.
went for
380
500 last year, got 400, and
Yeah.
spent 386
382
or something. Yeah,
Right, so is this still
That-
sort of a valid area? You know,
yes, that is
I
being.
would suggest making it 450 kind of thing, or 400,
Well,
but.
this year, the
think that
selectmen
was
broke it out by three, it's gonna be in three
Mm.
different things, there's gonna be paving, sealing,
And yeah, and chip,
chip
sealing.
sealing,
Chip sealing,
and
So it'd be the,
crack.
right, yeah, for crack sealing, chip sealing, and so it's
Yeah.
going to be broken into 3 different warrants for that, which would equal that total.
Which I understand completely why you might do that, because if you put it all in one and it doesn't pass, now you can't do any of it.
Mhm.
So breaking it down to 3 different warrants, you can get one piece or another piece should the town decide it's not gonna do all 3.
When is the drop dead date for warrant
Warrants.
I was gonna say, when are we gonna see kind of
15, well, the day
an
of
outline or
The
Public hearing.
kind of
public hearing,
a
yeah.
list?
February 10th-ish,
articles?
I think that's the date.
No, it is, you know, some of these can we at least do kind of a draft or, a, you know, kind of a plan?
Oh, I will be,
Just so we can see where it's going.
It says February
Sure, and-
3rd.
Oh, there'll be something coming.
Oh, that's
okay,
the
all right.
petition warrant articles are due for RSA 39-3 on Tuesday, February 3rd.
Correct.
And then we have a meeting February 10th.
Okay,
Drop-
just.
The drop dead is.
You have one the
February
4th.
Oh, we have
too,
the
I believe.
one the 4th too,
Fourth, I
right.
think, correct?
Yep.
Well, because, I think we really need to look at that, especially with an
Absolutely.
8.6% budget increase, I mean,
We
with
need-
warrant articles on top.
Right, and just-
It's gonna be significant.
And the 8.6 isn't.
Yeah, you, like I say, this,
I know,
these-
but
the
We haven't even
selectmen
gone
haven't
over
had,
the
had chance to
numbers,
look at
right.
these numbers. And they haven't had the chance to say, well, wow, you know, it looks like we have $80,000 in gasoline and diesel and we only used X amount, let's drop that down to such.
Right.
They haven't had,
no, I understand,
any
it's
chance
a,
to do it.
it's a draft, it's an initial cut, but, I think maybe, I'm a little gun shy because I did open my tax bill last week and it went up significantly. So I hate to see that happen to our taxpayers again next year, and another big jump.
well, this year was the reval too, so values got changed, so so your value is gonna stay the same for next year. The only difference that you'll see next year is with the rate that would
Yeah, but
cause a
If we
change.
go with some of these increases, we're talking about a higher tax rate again,
Well,
or next year.
Sure, but what I'm saying, you won't see I can't imagine a lot of people would see a similar jump.
Okay.
Because a lot of it was because the assessments, some
No, I
assessments
agree,
changed
the
dramatically.
assessments did go up quite a bit.
Some
Some
dramatically, some not so.
Yeah, yeah, I was on the receiving end, so.
At some point, we will have to go through this budget, basically line by line. What I would empower everyone here to do, and I've done some of it, is, like, I went through the ambulance, but not the ambulance, I went through the budget, and, you know, looking at ambulance, animal pest control, assessing, building inspection, conservation commission, those kinds of things, and I have a list, that sort of, it totals somewhere around $185,000 of changes to the to the budget, most of which are, decreases. Some of the bigger areas where there's a $50,000 change is that fire and rescue. Over the last several years, fire and rescue has consistently come in under budget to the tune of somewhere between $40,000 and $50,000, consistently. If that's consistent, and I know Chief sat here and explained some of that, but there has to be, if we're consistently coming in $50,000 under budget, that he's not spending that money, then let's not take that money from the taxpayer and have it not be used. It makes sense to take a look at those lines, especially in that fire department where, in the fire budget, where there are lines that, show zero use, they haven't spent any of the money, and either reducing them or eliminating them. I'm really hesitant to eliminate any single line because you do have to still plan for uncertainties, but there are significant areas where you can reduce them either by half or a third or some amount that makes sense, that would then achieve the purpose that we're looking for, which is not having an 8.6% budget increase.
Sharon, I have a question. Does each, department have a bottom line budget so that within that department, money can get moved around, or is it more strict?
So it's all up to the selectmen. The selectmen get to make those decisions. The department head himself does not.
Okay.
The department head is given this budget, and they're generally required to operate within that budget. Now, there's some leeway with, if you're in your own department budget and it's supplies versus repairs is something. If you bought new belts for a vehicle, is that considered a repair item or is that a supply item kind of thing? So there's some flexibility. It's not a huge amount of flexibility. They can't use I don't know, what's a good example? Maybe Linda can help me here.
Well,
I'm just trying to compare.
the
it to
practice has
school
been that
budget.
the department head is a bottom line for that department, and then the selectmen, the whole bottom line for the entire thing.
Right.
So it makes sense that if, I'm gonna use, executive, I've bought way too much copy paper this year, so I've already gone over my supply line, I'm gonna take it out of mileage, because I haven't overspent my mileage line. That's not helpful next year when I look at my budget and I say, well, wow, I didn't go over on my copy paper, and I went crazy on my mileage, and that doesn't make any sense. So even as me giving guidance to departments heads, I say, if that's where it belongs, take it out of that line, because it's only gonna help you in the future to realize that, wow, that wasn't enough, or just the opposite. I didn't buy as much copy paper this year as I really thought I needed, and so next year I can change that. So using the bottom line as your goal,
Right.
you can use each of these lines as a tool to help you figure out for future reasons what's
So you-
going on.
You can overspend in your, the DPW has overspent in their maintenance because we've had multiple breakdowns in the past 3 weeks. But the goal is to not overspend the bottom line. So then you can look and say, all right, maintenance should increase, but there's other things that we could decrease. But
Right.
the bottom line is really the bottom line.
And at this point in the year, maybe you've overspent your maintenance line, but you've underspent other lines, and so you're only actually 90% expended, which is why those percentages help.
Right.
Which allows you that I still have 10% of my budget, so I can still overspend that line as long as I'm not overspending that 100% of my budget line. But again, as Linda indicated, it does, if you overspend a line, it does allow you a budgeting tool for the next year to say, wow, we put this much into maintenance and I really need to double that amount, kind of thing. Now, the next question
It's the
is,
opposite.
why is that happening? So it's incumbent upon the department head to really scrutinize within their lines. Why are they overspending that line? What happened? Is there a, I don't want to call it a failure. Was there a catastrophic event that you could
An
not foresee.
anomaly that you didn't.
Right, or an anomaly that happened that
Variance.
wasn't, wasn't foreseeable, or was it, we just really didn't think about that. And now we're gonna have to, so that for planning purposes, they get better at doing these budgets and get more precise. And then also trying to keep them from hedging, because we used to do it all the time. Like, I know that we're gonna spend $10,000, but there's a potential that we could spend more than that, so I'm gonna hedge by adding a little bit more to it, or those kinds of things. Unless you can actually justify what those numbers are, then you shouldn't do it that way. So, I don't, just,
We're gonna leave.
you are,
And
are we boring you?
Thank you for the information.
You're
It's very enlightening.
No, thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming,
No,
yeah.
it's important, I think, that people turn out and be involved.
And talk to your neighbors, talk to them about, about
And
them.
I would not want any of your jokes. Oh my.
Well, we get paid so much.
Right,
One extra comment, as you do go through all the budgeting, I think you guys do a great job at trying to keep it down, but keep it really in the top of your brain that there's a lot of people in this town that are on fixed incomes,
Yes.
and they're not going to be very happy,
no,
no matter what the budget comes out. But if it comes out large, and Joe mentioned when you start putting all the warrant articles on,
right.
and adding that on to somebody that's already spending more time at the food pantry with us than,
Well, then you-
You and Peg know, we see it every week. We have a huge number of people already called for tomorrow.
Yeah.
We're starting about 10 o'clock in the morning through the day,
And then you add that to the school budget,
yeah.
and there's,
Yeah. No, times are tough right now, they really are.
so,
so I'm
You're
sure you're gonna keep it in your head, but elevate it,
absolutely,
elevate it. please.
Priority.
Thank you.
thank
Thank
you,
All right, good night.
Have a good night.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks for all your hard work.
thank you.
See you, Dan. Bye-bye.
So in going through this, unless we're prepared to sit and go through this, department by department, and if the selectmen haven't had a chance, is there
Yeah.
anything that you guys looked at that you saw that we could at least give them these areas to be looking at? Like, I just mentioned the fire department. I think the fire department really needs to be looked at.
When you said fire rescue, approved in 2025 was 165. They
Correct.
expanded 110. So,
So far, they haven't paid out their,
okay.
and because all the volunteers don't get paid till the end of the year.
Right.
Stipends
Oh, they
are-
just got paid, there's
Oh,
43,000.
Is that- oh, is it?
Yeah, they got,
Alright.
it just got
Did
paid,
they
but
get
it's not
paid?
in
Okay.
this yet. So,
It is in this.
So we'll get a true figure
Yeah.
as, I
Because they
mean,
get
right,
paid out
but they'll
yeah,
have
this
spent,
month.
they'll have spent the,
the whole thing.
no,
Yeah.
The member reimbursement.
The member
Is
reimbursement.
spent. It
Okay.
is.
Okay, it is
It is
spent. Okay, it is spent. All right, sorry.
so if you go into the,
Because, I mean, when you go through the line by line, there's some things you can't control. I
Well,
keep
you
going
have
back to
fixed
that
costs.
salt, and
Yeah.
it's
Right.
like,
Yeah.
well, you can in really, really, really evaluating and
Right,
looking
how
at,
much?
do I need, I went
Right.
from 500 to 600. Can I go to maybe 550 or 560 or 530?
right,
And still, still be okay. Obviously, salt we don't wanna not do it, not have
Right,
when
and
we
that's
need it.
and that's
so-
why we overspent on salt this year because we
didn't
budgeted
last year.
for 450 tons and we spent 550
Yeah, okay.
because the past few years had been mild. Last year was kind of like this year,
Yeah,
so it's one of those things where you can lower it and it looks great until you overspend it by $100,000.
exactly.
Sometimes you may not save money either, right? If the town buys 500 tons of salt in July at, certain price, if we underestimate come February,
It's more
you're
expensive.
calling around hey, I need another 100 ton,
Yeah.
you're gonna pay a premium
And the other
price.
problems with that too is that the state gets first bid.
Commit.
Yeah.
So if you wait and you underbuy and then you try to buy in the middle of the winter, a lot of times you can't get it.
You
Because
can't
they
get
say,
it.
this is all allotted for the state, you can't have it. So
Yeah.
now you're
Now you're
up
without.
to
You're stuck.
So
without
the, you
power.
know, the question I would have is, okay,
Yeah.
for Josh's purposes, to be able to defend that line is to turn around and say, we contracted and got 500 or 450 or whatever, but we needed to buy 500. We used all 500 of that, or
Yes.
no, we only have 20 tons left.
Well, that
That
when he
kind of
when he
thing.
came to the selectmen and did it, he did that was the thing. We had a little bit because we had to buy extra in the spring because we had those late storms,
Yeah.
and we still had. I think I want to say it was like it wasn't much. It was whatever's in the shed. But he did.
But
He
how-
came and
yeah.
said like we budgeted for this, we used this, so
And
we're
then I
gonna
had-
go with that number again for this year because. He's like, we whittled it down to try to save money, and then it kind of came back and bit us
Right.
because we had a
Right.
winter like we normally have.
Yeah.
But of course, if he overbids, if he overbuys by 50 ton, and you've got that extra, that's gonna reduce next year's.
Yeah.
Right,
backyard.
right,
It
so,
doesn't
right, so
go
coming,
waste,
right, so,
yeah.
well, yes and no,
Yes and
because
no, 'cause
we need a real salt shed and we don't have that, so most of it's usable,
Right.
some of it
Yeah.
Oh,
becomes
okay.
crusty and.
Oh, does it get
yes,
wet
yeah,
and crusty or
right.
something?
No.
All right.
So, but yeah, so that's, they try not to overbuy for that reason,
Right,
because
okay.
they don't wanna have too much sitting, and then,
Let it in.
if you got 30 tons in your shed, but only 20 are usable, then, you know, that sort
Yeah,
of thing,
'cause
so.
it will,
Yeah, I
gets
mean, you can
wet
break
or-
it up and, but then it gets
Okay.
clumpy and
yeah.
so on and so
okay, I get
forth.
it.
But, yeah,
Just like-
agreed, yeah,
It's not gonna spoil, well, it does.
Except if you
spoil.
had a shed that was more weather tight, you may not spoil.
But this winter so far, I
It's
think
been-
you guys have been on the road
It's
quite a
been
bit.
since 2007 we haven't had a winter like this.
Yeah, that's.
The start of the winter anyways.
Yeah, I mean, we're only into mid-December.
Sadly. Yeah.
But you don't know.
And that's
I
the
know.
thing,
January,
it
February,
could
March could be
turn.
completely dry.
Right, it could turn, right. But
I
and those
know.
are one of those things you
But-
can't
There's-
plan for.
I
No,
know,
you
you
can
gotta-
look at the Farmer's Almanac all you want, but Mother Nature's
Well,
gonna
until
do
this
what
year,
Mother
because it
Nature
doesn't
does.
do it anymore. Okay, this is the last year they're doing it, so,
Plan for worst case.
yeah.
Just ask AI, they'll tell us.
Right.
AI, right. All ignorance,
Oh.
I like that.
right?
That's
All
actually
right,
a
so,
good price
so
for
I would
salt.
recommend that,
It's-
Go to Home Depot,
that spend
they charge
time,
you
go
20 bucks
through
for a
it.
50-pound.
Yeah.
find those details, find those pieces, find those small, you know, even if it's $400 here and $500 there, when you start to add it up over the
Anything to
11
lower the-
pages,
right.
11 pages of budget, then, you know, there, it could potentially become something significant as we continue,
Oh.
especially in lieu of having additional warrant articles on there. Okay, like I said, I have, and, I have kind of my list of places to take a look at, and, you know, I mean, I know that there are things like the zoning board put in a, like 20,000, or a marker for, I think it was $30,000 for legal fees. That's not STRs, there's money already in that ETF for the STRs.
Okay.
This is other cases that we know potentially that are either in the court's hands or are gonna go to the courts.
Sell that.
So,
Fun things.
so, yeah, those things. So, so we have to plan for that, so if we don't use that money, thank God, you know, then we won't need it. And I've debated, do we ask for another ETF to put that money in through a warrant article as opposed to increasing the budget, but it sort of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, it's still $30,000, no matter how you look at it.
But if you do it in the warrant article, the town can vote it down.
The town could vote it down, that's right.
Which would lower the-
Well, even in this, the town could say, no, we're not, we want you to take $20,000
Right,
out of
right,
that
exactly,
and
right.
only have that line be
For
10,000.
10, right.
We run the risk of overrunning it from somewhere, but. All right, moving on. School board update. Deb? Do you wanna talk about the Monday meeting? No, I know you don't want to. Well, how about I start, and then
Go
I'll let you,
for
I'll
it.
let you fill in. So when I went to the school board meeting, a couple things. One is the SAU budget is already set. There is no changing it. They've already voted on it. I lost sight of that. I freely admit I lost sight of when that was gonna happen. And one of the things that I came right out and said in the meeting was, I'm a little aghast at the pay increase, the salary increase that they're giving to the superintendent. What part of the rationale was that they needed to bring him back up to where he should be because they hired him at a lower rate.
Well, that's what they said.
Well, that's what they said, right? Yeah, yeah. Nan was there with me, and I just said no. I don't buy
That's not
this.
how
I
you
think
do it.
this is in this day and age right now that we're sitting in with this economy and a 2.8% COLA and healthcare costs going sky high, to give him that percentage of a pay raise, I think is, then answer to all your other employees who aren't getting that. How do you justify that? And given the performance that the school has had in the last several years, and given the fact that we will have 82 students in that school next year. Now we have more students in the district, but there are, and he manages the MSD.
SAU.
The SAU, right.
13.
How many,
13.
were it 3 schools in the SAU?
That's it, Freedom, Madison, Tamworth.
Tamworth, that's right.
Right.
Three.
And all the numbers have
Dropped.
decreased significantly.
Dropped. Now, what I didn't say, and I should have, because I didn't think of it until afterwards, was last year we had the conversation, and it's in my notes, I have it written down in my notes, that they were aware that and it was a concern, I have in quotes, it is a concern, that the school population is dropping. They've done nothing in this last year to address that. One of the things I said is, you guys got to start to put together a committee and figure out what you're going to do. At what point does it become infeasible to have this school open with 80-something students? Or is it 60-something students? Is it 50 students? Are we already past it? Was it 90 students? And it's now infeasible to operate an entire school for.
Freedom's been doing it with 40 for.
Freedom's gonna have
they have
32
32 kids this year.
32 kids or
Right,
something, Freedom,
so,
yeah.
and
Tamworth, not
just
many-
because
much
another
more than
town
that.
does it, doesn't mean we
Yeah.
should.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? Doesn't mean we should. So, but nothing, the superintendent has done nothing to address that situation. The town will be taking on or the school will be taking on the kindergarten?
Preschool.
Preschool, the preschool. And there was some numbers that showed that we would come out like $15,000 ahead because of tuitions from sending towns into the preschool and not having to pay the SAU. And then some efficiencies that could be achieved through the preschool teachers. I guess there's a para and a I don't know what, I always forget what an ECE means.
Early childhood education.
Thank you. Early childhood educator.
Yes, a teacher.
Right,
Yeah.
but an early one,
Yeah, the little
the
ones.
pre-Ks.
Yeah,
So
So they
their
would come onto Madison's.
Madison's payroll.
payroll,
Yeah.
correct, they would be Madison employees.
I had someone ask me a question, and maybe Deb or you could answer this question about that. So the money that we get from the other schools and that we pay, that is from our town taxes? Is that from state? Is there state revenue in there coming to us as far as per pupil? How does that work?
For preschool?
Yes, yes, for the preschool.
So currently,
Yeah.
it's an SAU program, so it's, each district has an apportionment that
Mhm.
they pay, so it's not per pupil.
Right, but then that comes from town tax revenue.
Yes.
Okay, all right, that
From
was
the school's
the
budget.
school budget. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And
That was the
then,
question.
so one of the things that I need to make clear, like for anyone that watches the meeting, that we're gonna have to continue to make clear is this transition from, if it's voted, the preschool being an SAU entity to a Madison entity. So it's budgeted in both places.
Currently,
Right.
for
So-
26.
Just in case it doesn't pass, it goes back to the SAU.
Exactly,
Correct.
so it's double budgeting, but depending on what the vote comes out, it's only going to
Be taken from
be
one.
in one of the budgets and used in one of the budgets, so that has to be clear, and then also I have the document that Heather sent to you guys. That breaks it down in terms of, what the cost is, you know, I believe it's 88,000 that we pay our portion, or 85,000, is what we pay in the SAU, to the SAU, for our apportionment of the preschool. So we obviously wouldn't be paying that $85,000 anymore. It does give us more control and flexibility with staffing in terms of, you know, the numbers aren't the same every day of who attends and how long they attend. So if there are days when numbers are low, that gives us flexibility to use the, mainly the paraprofessionals in other areas of the building. Did you wanna keep on going, cause I can just.
No, you can just jump right in.
So one of the things that did get changed in the last meeting for budget was a reduction in the media library person, the position for that. It's media and library. It's full-time, it was reduced to a 0.8, so that's a 5-day a week down to a 4-day a week. There was a lot of discussion about sharing resources, which is something that the superintendent has touted as something he really wants to do, is to try to share resources with all 3 districts.
Specifically things like speech therapists or those kinds of things too.
That was something I recommended, was that we look at whether that is a service that could be shared with Freedom, or, you know, can we share, if we're gonna reduce because of our numbers in certain positions, is there opportunity for them to be made whole by us contracting out
To other
schools in the SAU? Unfortunately, the message received was this is really late in the budgetary
that was
process to start doing that, which was a concern to me personally,
Well,
that initiative wasn't taken
Again,
ahead of
a
time.
reflection of no prior planning to some of this. To me, it seems, I feel like there's a lack of vision necessarily, or anticipation of things and what can we do, recognizing we're kind of, not in a hole, but like we're headed in a direction that's not great, so.
and I think that was probably one of my biggest concerns, is that it's not just media and library. You could look at several other positions that you could share, knowing that Freedom has a low population, knowing where our population is going. It should have been looked at to say, and that was one of the arguments about not reducing different staff positions, was because it's hard to attract somebody to come in and work 3 days or 4 days. Well, you could look at Freedom, and well, there's your 2 days over there, and I don't think they've looked in that direction enough. I mean,
Enough, right. So,
it's nice to say that's what we wanna do, but,
right.
and the
Well,
other,
and I think the school is in a position where this is a pretty significant reduction in population.
yeah,
You know, we have 27-ish kids, I say ish because more were moving in the 6th grade. And right now, there are 4 preschoolers that are 2nd-year preschoolers. And they're saying that there's 5 additional preschoolers somewhere, I'm not sure where. So you're talking at most 9 coming in. So you're looking at a whole class size drop of students. And knowing that we're still 2 teaching positions short, so those are 2 positions that were in this current budget that are not filled. They have, there's one reduction for next year, because the idea is that the preschool teacher, the early childhood educator, would be that other
Right.
position that we will need So we're not cutting those two positions,
Or-
even though
Or you could look at
we're
it as,
dropping 20.
yeah, we're cutting 2, but we're still hiring back 1.
Right.
So the net effect is just a reduction of 1. And all that being said, the budget that they had given to us, the working budget that we had in our hands at the time, did show a 4.69% decrease in the budget from this current year. Except that this current year was like a 5 or 6% increase from the year before, so we're kind of back to where we were 2 years
2024,
ago. But now we have a student population that's significantly lower than it was several years ago or 2 years ago. So where else, we challenge them, where else can you look in this and find and achieve additional efficiencies and additional cuts? Because even,
And I'll just jump in, this
Yeah.
also does not include our warrant articles.
Right.
Which, will probably wipe out that 4%,
right,
You have
savings.
a fixed cost, I mean, to operate the school, right? You know, the facilities, maintenance, everything. But if you have, I remember just a couple of years ago, there was about 122 kids at the school. So now we have about a 25% decrease,
Yeah.
you know, 30% or close,
right.
right? How come the budget hasn't come down more? You know what I mean?
Well, because the building is still the building.
I know you have the
You-
fixed
you have to
costs
heat
there.
You have to heat the
Yeah, but
entire building.
Again, you know, with such a reduction in the number of students, you know, but again, you know, we're,
So it always goes back to that, like what you were saying with the salt and
Yeah,
there
yeah.
are certain things that are
Right.
not in the control of the school board, in terms of, tuition to Conway right now, that's, it's up 60,000, it's mainly in the high school, not the middle school, but
They had expected a decrease, a more.
but Conway went up $60,000 for
The-
next year.
the-
for-
Yeah.
Yeah,
How
the
many
tuition.
children actually go to like the Kennett
Oh.
Middle and High School?
There is a breakdown.
No, I just, sorry I'm asking, but I just, yeah, I don't understand, you know, I just
don't have
don't
mine.
know the numbers in my head.
there's 29 in the middle school and there's 71 in the high school.
100
Wow.
kids.
That's a lot, okay, 100 kids. Okay,
yeah,
so but then we're
that's-
going up $6,000 per student.
Yeah, so that's something that we don't have control over, that's the tuition from Conway. There's certain things we can do, because we're in negotiation with the SAU 9's tuition right now, but that doesn't help us for next year's budget. And there are just things that are not within our control, and what we have within our control as a school board is more of the personnel
Right.
that work in the elementary school alone. And it's hard when you are talking positions that are attached to people
Right.
to separate the two. That, this is a position that is not needed at full-time or 60% or half-time. It can be reduced some more. That I think is a hard thing. Administration wouldn't necessarily openly propose cutting, I don't think.
They resisted anything.
They
Well,
have.
I just don't see, like, you wanna keep the staff that you have and provide the very best education you can as an administrator, and obviously having a smaller student to teacher ratio is beneficial. But that has to be weighed
Right.
with.
Against the cost.
Yeah, and that I think is where the rub is that there aren't a lot, like, there are not 4 individuals that are not attached to any particular item showing up at board meetings to voice their concerns about their own financial situations. So there's less of a urgency to say, ooh, let's look here to cut, because there's not a lot of conversation being had in front of the powers to be making those decisions, so.
And to a certain extent, I get it, as a superintendent and as the principal, if you start talking personnel cuts, you start to scare your staff a little bit. But again, that is a reflection on leadership. They have to be able to handle that. They have to be able to manage that message and make sure that the folks who are in their jobs understand why things are happening that they're happening. And it's a leadership issue. And at this particular moment, I'm not overly confident that the leadership can handle this and can do this and can come up with something that's going to be reasonable for the taxpayer with regard to the school and and the students. So
Yeah, it would be nice to have, and I don't know if we'll talk about it at the next meeting, there's been some things brought up that with the feasibility issue, is there, could there be a committee that kind of looks at if we have a certain square footage of building space that's not being used, is there a way to repurpose that for some town entity or however it is where it could help us financially, but also use of the building, because you do have a lot of empty space even now without having dropped the 20 students. And I didn't realize that there are some positions that have what was considered full class rooms as their offices space. So like a guidance counselor normally would have like an office space when I worked there, now has an entire classroom space. So there is a lot of space that was once used for classrooms that is being used for smaller groups of children or individuals. There's an entire classroom for paraprofessionals to have as their space. When in years past, you kind of had your space in a classroom where you worked a lot more often. So it's those kind of things that I think we're a little bit behind the 8 ball in terms of looking into the future of what we should be doing.
Why would they take on the burden of a preschool and have to pay insurance and stuff rather than renting out a classroom or two to a private preschool? And just collecting the rent and sitting
that's a
back?
question for the SAU. I don't know that option was ever presented.
I think mainly, if I were to say, I wasn't on the board when the initial preschool came into effect, but it has more to do with the special ed costs associated with preschoolers that come. So they receive services. So those students, depending on how high need they are, could cost the district up to $60,000 per student.
Right.
So if you have it and you're using your existing speech person, special ed teachers, things of that nature,
Deferred cost.
you don't incur those extra costs than if you had to provide the service.
And can you just remind the viewing audience, did the budget pass last year on the school end and the SAU end, or did it not pass?
The budget for the school did not pass. So
The
it's on
SAU did though.
Yeah.
Okay.
The SAU passed, the school budget the default budget went into.
And I believe
into
if I'm correct, the preschool was part of the Madison school budget. And last year moved to the SAU budget.
The preschool's always been the SAU.
It's been an
SAU
SAU
since it stood
entity.
up,
Right,
yeah.
right.
But I believe that got switched and now we're switching it
back.
back.
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
So
If you could check on that.
I can check on that. And I think that was one of the misgivings of one of the other districts, is that we've made a shift. We've not given it a lot of time to take hold, and now we're making another shift. So it's hard to say to the different towns that this is working when we keep shifting the
Moving.
model.
Yeah.
I think the delivery of the education has been consistent, but the way we're funding it, I think, has waffled. And obviously, if it passes, will change significantly, especially for Madison. But it does give us the freedom, pardon the pun, to charge the other towns what we see as a good rate. So it gives us the flexibility to charge more or less, depending on how many students with IEPs are in the preschool from other towns. And it would remain that kids that are not identified, it's pay to play, for a better, lack of a better word. So
But there's
those
also like
students
a-
come and pay a tuition.
There's also a standard amount, if you will, for each town.
Yes.
To,
That-
even if you don't send students.
Yeah.
To sort of reserve your place to be able to send students, if you, especially if you get one halfway through the year, those kinds of things, or a child becomes of age that they could go, with a birthday in, January or February kind of thing, but the other sending towns would still pay a set amount, it's like a base amount, and then the cost per student from there.
Yeah, so that is what they would call to keep us as the school of record for preschoolers who are identified. So if it were to pass, there would be a memorandum of understanding between the districts, and, we've thrown out like a $10,000
Base,
number as what each district could possibly pay just to hold a spot.
Just to,
and it's so that when you're in the MLS and all those kinds of things, and you have to indicate who your school of record is for preschool, then they get to say Madison Elementary School.
And I think that helps because the preschool used to run out of freedom in years past. And part of what resulted in its demise, I think, is that there were fewer and fewer preschool students who were identified. So Madison would not have students that would need to be sent to Freedom. And I don't think there was this kind of placeholder type thing so that the school could depend on at least getting that $10,000. So I think that helps us try to make it a little bit more secure, but you do take on a risk bringing the program into Madison yourself, like to
If you
to
don't.
support it with personnel, and even if you have no students.
So, the next school board meeting is on the 5th.
And that's their hearing, right?
No,
no, just a regular school.
it's
Oh,
a regular school board meeting.
And, the other monkey,
Yeah, the
or
school board meeting.
the other elephant in the room is their health insurance.
Yeah, that's Tuesday.
Right.
And what's built into their budget, because they haven't, they are exploring, but what's built in is still the current, school care at a 22% increase. So, and their family rate is significantly more than what the town employees.
It was $35,000 a year.
Well, no, 45,000 for
45
a
when we
family
looked
plan,
last year,
and
yeah.
ours was 30. Here it's 31, the
Yeah.
town. So
Yeah.
there's a significant difference, and they are looking elsewhere and they're looking at other plans. However, I'm not holding my breath because you have a CBA that ties them into that for the, well, it's this year and then another 2 years.
That was on top of the 100K
Right.
we had to pay into to
Yeah.
bring the fund back into solvency or something.
Correct.
Right, yeah.
Right,
School
and
Wow,
the
that
current
is-
plan is called the yellow plan, and
Yeah.
it's sunsetting. However, because the employees are in the midst of a collective bargaining agreement, they're allowed to stay on the yellow plan till the end of their agreement. So that is the plan that's up 22%. The administrative, non-CBA staff have to choose a different plan. They're not allowed to continue because they don't have a CBA on the yellow plan, so they don't have a choice. So the idea is that they're researching for those particular employees. The SAU also has to switch over. So while at the same time looking to replace their plans, hoping to find a way to find something affordable with similar coverage that would encourage the CBA covered entity to also switch. Cause it's not mandated in the CBA what health plan is chosen, it's just the split of how much the district and how much the employee pays. But there's no reason for them to agree to switch to a plan that could cost them more. But there would be if it cost them less, cause then there'd be more money in their own pocket, cause they have to share part of the
If we're
burden.
up to 45K, does that include the 22% increase? Is that next year's
I don't
price?
think
Or is it 22% on top of the 45K? Then we're up to another
Yeah,
$54,000.
I think Heather used the, here, yellow care, yeah, 27 actual. New Hampshire School Care yellow.
What is,
For,
Does it have a
for the
price or something?
non-CBA or?
No, they wouldn't be in, it wouldn't be, it says HDCF, I don't know what that means, maybe you guys know what that means.
Yeah, see, the account note usually goes
Oh, for
with
that one.
what's above.
Okay, yeah.
So they're gonna have a different health insurance line for each section.
Each,
Yeah, so that's like PE,
yeah.
so that's the
well,
health.
they have to do something, because that's unsustainable.
No.
I know
You're
from
gonna
a
be
school
paying more
board
for health insurance than
standpoint,
their base salary.
we wanna get away from school care just because of the simple fact that we had that unanticipated
Yes, on top of
$100,000.
100K.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sounds like school care wants you to get rid of. They don't want your business.
So
They're
this is-
not jacking the prices like
Right.
that.
This is showing a 6.2% increase. 2025 to 2026 adopted under health, the Object 211, health insurance. If you go into the working, if you guys want these, this has the
Oh,
school
is
budget
it
in
have
it.
the budget? I can tell
Yeah,
you.
it has the,
Oh, yeah, I don't know much about this.
I know a lot.
Nan does, yeah.
Nan spent some time there,
She- yeah, Nan knows.
school budget.
Well, and that's what sort of gets you aggravated, because you know where the things that aren't so set that you can look at and say, you need to do a better job at this. And it's just frustrating because you say year after year after year, and, you know, now
Nothing.
here we are, you get hit with that
So-
insurance.
on this first page after the agenda, if you look at the bottom half of the page where it says Object 211 is the health insurance cost. Now, you also have to remember that this also insures 2 less people. Or
Right.
actually, one less
Right.
person,
Yeah.
one less person. So there's,
With an increase, yeah,
it shows a 6.2% increase
with one less person covered.
with one less person covered.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm looking at a position that's just a one person, and the increase to insurance is a 22.34%.
Right.
Right.
You know, these increases in these rates, you know, 2026, right, you're up to $830,000. Within 3, 4, 5 years, you're gonna be hitting $1 million a year.
Not 3, 4, 5, 2
Pretty
years.
soon, yeah, you're gonna be
2
over
years
$1 million
max.
a year for health insurance.
So
It's
that's
unsustainable.
still, yeah, that's still something that the SAU office is looking into, but I have no further information to be able to give you.
So you can see the bottom line there is it's a $6.971 million budget, which represents a $342,000 decrease, and in percentage it's 4.69% decrease.
Which I think
But-
is a little bit more, or that number is a little less than what we ended up coming up with
Right.
because we reduced that one
We-
position.
Yeah. But if
There
you,
were other reductions too earlier, but in the latest round of this, for instance, the head custodian's position has been revamped, so that position is,
the
is
current one
less.
is retiring, so they were revamping it when that person retired, so as not to necessarily affect them, and then as we go into the next school year, that position will be supervisory and administrative in nature, and have one full-time, was it 2 full-time?
2 full-time.
My God.
And then the administrative is only part.
Do you realize that the health insurance cost next year is 12% of the school budget? That is out of control.
Well, and I'm just looking at, because I know the personnel, I know the people, so 25, 26 adopted was 38,800, that's a family plan. For 26, 27, 47,472.
That's equal to the salary for.
Which
for
is,
some-
8,000, it's the 22.34 increase.
Yeah.
How did we get
So-
in?
So,
Hooked into this?
Well, and part of it is one of the things we've been saying is that all of these kinds of contracts and all of these kinds of arrangements need to be looked at every couple of years
Oh,
to make sure they're still
yes.
competitive,
Yeah.
make sure that they're still, that they're still worth the cost to the
Yeah.
employer and the employee kind of deal. So, none of these things are a set it and forget it when it comes to municipal budgets. You can't, you just can't. You have to continually look at it, evaluate it, and make sure that you're getting the best deal. I mean, when I was at the middle school, and I hate to keep, but I know the SAU there would, every year, they would go out for basically a competitive bid for paper. Do you know how much paper SAU 9 buys? Like, they
Wow.
pulled it all in and said, you know what, we can get a better deal if we do, SAU 9 does the buying
Oh,
for
yeah, yeah.
everybody,
Yeah.
as opposed to
It's
the
in-
middle
it's
school
in
buys
the
their
back, so-
150 cases, and, the
High school.
elementary schools and the high school. They said, you know what, we can buy 1,000 cases of paper, and we get a better deal, and then you guys just need to tell us how
many you need.
you're gonna need to tell us ahead of time so we know how many to order, but we can get a better deal. Those kinds of
And I don't
things
think there are
have
any
to be,
numbers
have to
attached to
constantly
that.
be done.
Oh my God.
Maybe the SAU 13 looks at that, when we go to buy our
There's
paper.
gotta be something better.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
No, I mean,
Well, and I've made the case personally, that for me to support some of the things that are in the warrant article, we need to find more reductions in the regular budget. So I was happy that we made a reduction. I'm hoping that we continue to make a few more. But there are things in the warrant, like the adaptive playground equipment is a warrant article. Like, I'm not really sure, having just done the regular, knowing we don't have any students on our radar that have mobility issues, this would be the year to fund that.
At
However,
90,000.
I'd be able to support that if we can show that we're making significant reductions in other
because the
areas where we
playground
can.
was just redone, right? It was.
The regular
It looks
playground.
really nice, it was
Yeah.
just redone.
But there's a warrant article that says that to see if the school district will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $80,000 for the purpose of completing phase 2 of the Madison Elementary School playground project, including but not limited to the installation of ADA accessible play structures, yada, yada, yada. They have 2 quotes right now to do that. One was 68,000, the other was 90,000. Article 5 was for 15,000 to be added to the special education capital reserve. That money would come from the unreserved fund balance to move that from the unreserved fund balance into into the special education capital reserve. Article 6 was another $80,000. Now they reduced that from 135 to raise and appropriate the sum of 80 to be placed in the previously established building maintenance capital reserve fund. They were looking at a straight 135 across the board for the next 10 years, but when you look at how things will get expensed and how they will be used, they didn't necessarily need to fund all 135 this year. Then there was 50K in Article 7 for a tuition stabilization capital reserve fund. So one of the things that they're hoping to do is to stabilize, because the tuition for the middle school and the high school, they go up, they go down, they go up, they go down. And instead of trying to manage that through budget issues, they wanted to establish a fund so that should there be years where that goes up significantly, there's money in basically it's a capital reserve fund that they could then tap into to defray the cost of that, so that they could standardize for the next 5 years what that tuition would look like
I wonder what
in
the
the budget.
projections are for the next 5 years, the number of kids that'll actually go to the middle and high school.
Well,
You
you're
know, 'cause
looking
we're
at
going
only,
down in numbers, right?
But then again, still, maintaining that the middle school and the high school, still gonna
Costs you money.
So
Yeah,
the cost
whether it's
per
at Conway
pupil,
or somewhere else,
right,
you're still gonna
the
have
cost per pupil is gonna be more expensive.
Speaking of that, right now, without these numbers being filled in on the warrant articles, we're at $40,876
How much?
per
Nicole?
pupil per year.
Yeah.
$40,876 per
In
pupil.
warrant articles?
No,
it's
no.
just the per
Without the
pupil
warrant
cost.
articles being added in, only the
Cost per
couple
student.
Cost per student, okay, I get you.
is $40,876. So I'm hoping that, this is a taxpayer hat only, and having been many years at the school board, that the board can see that anyone raising concern about that number is not accusing any of our townspeople of not supporting our kids. Because for $41,000 a year, you can send 2 kids to private school. Really?
But you
can.
do what Jackson did, was it
We-
Jackson?
Yeah, they sent them to Freiburg.
To Freiburg.
Did
They,
they-
actually,
Well,
they're giving
that's not
families the
private
The whole
choice.
town, the whole
Yeah.
town
No,
gets
they're
it?
Well,
getting-
technically, it's a
They get a
private
choice.
public school.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
they
it's-
get a choice, they can either go to Freiburg or they can go to
And I wanna say it's
Kennett.
like $19,000 a year to go to Freiburg.
Oh.
And I will
If you
say,
don't board.
because we
Yeah,
are
yeah.
in the midst of negotiating the area agreement with SAU 9, there are other possibilities for us that are being looked at. So it's not that we're tunnel vision, everybody's going to SAU 9, that's part of what the negotiation involves, so,
Eight.
They gotta move.
that, but you still, no matter where you send them, there's a cost associated with that, so.
And if in my opinion, if we were the school to be at, we could take kids in tuition. We were the example of excellence,
Right,
you know, that
But that's-
we would hope that we would be, but our scores don't show that. But we would have that opportunity to sell our education
Right.
to anyone who wanted to buy it.
And there has been those discussions also, just very limited, but school choice, there is the possibility of school choice, but you also take on a big risk opening yourself up to school choice, because if everybody does think we have the best school and wanna send their kids, then we've gotta supply the personnel and everything.
Yeah, you could get a significant increase in the.
So while we would still take in money, it would require us
Yeah.
to, and that is not always predictable from year to year, whereas,
and then you might have the issue where you have more students than you have capability to educate them. So all total, those warrant articles come to $300,000.
Oh, is that what it is? I'm
Yeah.
redoing that.
There's 280s at 15, that makes it 175. There's a 20, Article 9 was 25,000, Article 8 was 50,000, Article 7 was 50,000, Article 6 was 80, Article 5 is 15, and Article 4 was 80.
So, 300K on top of a $7 million budget.
Correct, 6.971.
Sig, yeah.
Which is still, if you go back 2 years, they were at 6.685. Now we're at, if you ignore 25 to 26, you're at 6.971. And recognize that the 25-26 was the default budget at 7.3.
That's true.
The regular budget would have been 7.7, 7.8, I forget
Yeah.
what it was. I think it was almost, I think it was 7.9, I think it was close to 8. So, and I said the same thing to the superintendent and the chairman of the school board of, you know, you've gotta hold wages because nobody's getting big pay raises, nobody's getting, you know, pay increases, there's a cost of living adjustment that is,
You've gotta get a handle on the health insurance costs.
well, they have to find a new
Yes,
provider,
they gotta
that's all
find
there is
You're
to
better
it.
off just paying the hospital bill, honestly.
Well, and I gave them ours.
$800,000?
I gave them the name of ours and gave them the information and
Yeah.
said, contact these guys,
Yeah.
see if, you know, this is a bit more reasonable, it's still, you know, we still have an
We have a good
increase.
plan, at 25% cheaper.
Right,
You know, the
and they
plan
would,
that the
they would
town-
pay 12%,
Yeah.
the teachers pay 12%, and the
Well, the
school pays
Blue
88.
Cross Anthem, it's a really good plan.
So,
See, and I think employee contribution, the town is catching to, you know, they're getting to be comparable,
Yeah.
but the plans aren't. They're
right,
nowhere near, you know.
yeah, if you look at your, like, what the town pays for town employees portion is a lot less than what the town
school
pays
pays.
for the school
Right.
employees portion. And, yeah, and it's still not equitable in terms of there are employees there that are paying 12% for insurance, but paying 100% for their dental, and there are some employees that get 100% of both paid for. So it's not the same across the board, which makes things difficult to understand when you're looking at the budget. Why is this one so much more than this one? And it's because the percentages are different. So,
Okay.
but I would encourage any
Please.
and all members to look at, also, this is brand new, the report card that came out, it has a lot of different aspects of the school and the information on it. And some, like,
Metrics.
years, like, multiple years of the information, so you can kinda see where the trends are and
One of the things I picked up, just because it's what I do, you know, at the food pantry, I saw that the number is down on the free reduced rate from 41% to 30%. State average is 24%. So that's significant improvement. I remember
well,
we were at 40%.
I was gonna say, take that with a grain of salt, because one of the things that they've talked about was the fact that, they just didn't have as many people fill out the application too. You have to
Okay.
hunt people down to
To
get them
fill out
sometimes
the
to fill out
form,
the form.
USDA form.
Right, so I always tell them, kinda take that number with a grain of salt, that those are the people willing to go and fill
That
out the form.
are filling the form out.
Correct.
right, but that's been an issue for,
Always.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've been teaching for 30 years, you're always searching for people
I
to fill
just-
out those forms.
I just have to say my piece on this, because I had a child with a whole bunch of coworkers that all had kids. We all qualify for free and reduced lunch. Not one of us, for personal choices, would never fill out that form, because that's
Okay.
not a system that we, and there must have been 30 of us at the time. And that form kept, it was like literally up to fill it out, fill it out, fill it out, fill it out, 'cause it meant money to the school, but we don't, my kids have packed their lunch their entire lives. And so that is, to me, it's an insulting thing, because we work hard to feed our kids what we choose to feed them, and the lunch food was not what we chose, and it really that is one thing that I wish I could stand in every public meeting and say, there are many, many parents that choose to feed
Okay.
their own kids. And that's why I was adamantly against it for everyone, because then everyone starts handing my kid the food. And that's not okay, and it's insulting to me.
So again, I think that's where leadership has potentially not.
And they must hand that to 100 times. You
Well,
like,
it's
get away from
required
it.
that it has to go home with every student with
Yeah.
the first week of school.
USDA requires.
It must go home with every
Right.
student. But then, I know counselors and stuff start to reach out to families, but understand, just because you fill that form out does not require your child to go eat.
I
They
just
don't
don't
have
believe
to.
in the system, because it's more tax money coming out of my pocket to go back to the school for food
Yeah.
that gets ordered and then dumped in the garbage, and that's literally how it works.
But it's used for other mechanisms as well.
Right.
It's not just school lunch. It's used for other state mechanisms for accounting of things, and so.
It's federal.
and all that.
Right.
It's a federal
It's
USDA
federal,
form,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Right, so, I would say, fill out the form, just still pack your lunch for your child
Yeah,
and not have them eat it.
It was a
The-
huge issue for me.
The lunch, people will
Philosophical.
adjust what they're ordering based on what's
Well, the
actually being
reason I
eaten.
brought it up, Nicole, I use that number just kind of planning in my head for the food pantry.
Right.
Going kind of, what's the need in Madison?
Right,
So, I can kind of plan, I need more kids cereal,
Right.
In the summer, or,
Right.
whatever. Again, I'm not trying to
that's why I
judge
think I brought
who
up.
takes a program
Yeah.
and who doesn't.
That's why I brought up
Yeah.
last year that I really appreciated Executive Counselor Kenny had said they had put the food pantry in the school, and it was filled with fresh produce and things, so parents could go in and literally use their, whatever they use for a food pantry, and get the items they choose to feed their children right from the pantry, and send it to their school with their kids. So that was just such a creative idea for me, like, I just was like, wow, and that's up in Berlin. And I thought that was just wonderful, but, you know, it was just it crux to my craw, my kid's whole childhood, they must have slid that paper under my nose 100 times. Every time I walked in the school, fill it out.
You know, but we get calls, not from Madison, but other schools we partner with, especially the last few weeks. This family's going without for over like Thanksgiving break and Christmas break, right? We have a lot of single moms, kids, and we actually put bags together. It's almost like this 68 hours of hunger
Right.
type program. And that's what I use that number for, just to kind of get an idea what's going on, you know, in the community, so. Okay.
Anything
No.
else? Do we have anything else we
The
wanna?
process has come into a quick end soon,
It will
so-
come to a quick end, yes.
Make it quick, Jake.
So,
Oh, my update's
Yep.
real easy.
go Jake, you're up.
Go, Jake.
We got the budget, we haven't looked at it yet. We are in the middle of, yeah, just trying to figure, like I said, we are looking to whittle everything down as best we can. I mean, we all know where we sit now, and what we're looking to achieve. So that's pretty much all
So-
I've got.
I'll ask you then,
Yes.
also the same question that Nicole asked earlier, as to whether or not the selectmen have set any kind of,
We haven't yet, cause like I said, we haven't had the budget in front of us.
Okay. so
But
there's no like, we don't wanna go above 3%, we're looking for a 2% decrease, we're not, we're not.
we have, like I said, we haven't as a group talked about it, so that's Tuesday. Tuesday, we're gonna look it over and
Okay.
try to, you know, again, start, we've got 6 weeks, 7 weeks, whatever it is to.
Just keep your.
Yeah, but there's a
No,
Christmas
but,
holiday in there.
right, but what I'm saying
Time you get through
is,
Christmas and New Year's. yeah.
right, we know my point was we're on borrowed time at
Yeah.
this point, so we wanna, obviously, we're trying to do what's best for everybody and not,
It's on Tuesday.
we don't wanna see a 8% increase. And again, there's things that obviously we have no control over, but there's, what we do have control over, we'll take a look at and see where we can save.
We
Oh, not
have to,
here, not
there's,
Tuesday.
there's too many people in fixed incomes.
Oh,
in Madison
absolutely.
That are, you know, they got sticker shock when they opened their tax bill last week.
All right, let's move on then. Anything else? If
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. The next thing is the health and dental insurance. We already talked about the fact that the town did adopt the
Current
change to the,
plan.
use the current plan.
10%.
10%.
Yeah.
So, and that's already being budgeted into the budget. That's already being incorporated, correct, Linda? Yeah, okay. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Selectmen,
Mhm.
for. CIP update, we have a meeting on Thursday morning, we have still working with each one of the department heads to go through their CIP, talk to the chief, and said, you know, let's start kind of thinking outside the box, what do you need? Cause it keeps saying, well, I don't need, you know, there's nothing, I don't have any projects, it's like, chief, you sat here and told us you don't have room for evidence and, you know, those kinds of things, so what if this building were structured a little bit differently? What if we were able to make use of the upper levels?
uses the school.
I said the school has room.
Oh, yeah.
School has a-
Well, you know, I
Oh, geez.
thought of that and I thought, yeah, you know,
They
I
don't have to
really
worry
wanna,
about security issues.
right?
You don't wanna go
I don't really wanna
drug
mix
evidence and
police
stuff at the
business
school
with
probably.
toddlers.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't wanna
Could you imagine?
As a
We
parent,
just
I
picked
would
this guy
feel
up.
safer with them
Yeah.
there. As a parent, I would feel safer
Put a
with
lockup
them
in the
there.
school, that's all.
It's not
It's
them
not
that I'm worried
them.
about, it's the
It's the
people
people
that.
They never bring anybody
Yes,
back
they
there.
do.
Oh, they do? I
Yes,
thought
they
you
do.
said they didn't.
That
Yes,
would
they
be
do.
the one hummocks.
I
So
thought it
anyway,
didn't want
but
it.
evidence, yeah. So, but anyway, but you know, like, or you know, maybe there's the opportunity, you move the library over there and then they get the library building kind of thing. But then also this building, with regard to having Madison TV, you know, reconfigure this room so they get a piece of this, but if we move we had big ideas, if you move the conference room up to the 3rd level and, you know, redo that one and make that habitable, you probably need to put in some mini split systems or something.
You need an elevator.
And we need an elevator.
ADA accessible.
Yeah,
Have you seen
yes.
the 3rd floor?
Absolutely.
Right?
Have you seen the 3rd floor?
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. I miss the 3rd floor.
but anyway, yeah, and you know, I'm like, structurally, is it gonna, you
Well,
gotta,
structurally, I think you're fine. It's just cosmetically and accessibility is your issue.
accessibility.
How do you get people into the 3rd floor?
Yeah, I'm
You
working
have
on
to
some
be, you
grants
have to have an
to
elevator,
the state. I'm trying to find a grant for it.
right, so, and then the space to put it in, which would probably take
It
up
was
that front
designed-
entrance.
It was designed to have an elevator at one point, Mike said.
Oh, really?
So the storage closet
The storage
behind
closet.
in Linda's office. There's if you walk in and turn, look at Linda. There's a storage closet right there.
To the left?
To the right.
Right.
If you're standing looking in, if you're
Oh,
looking
if
in
I'm
from
looking at-
yes from the common area looking in
Looking at,
on
all
the
the way
right,
down?
that right door was kind of loosely designated
to
for
be a space for
for
an
an
elevator.
elevator. But the only problem is you have to be able to still come all the way down to the basement with it, and that
Yes.
that
No,
becomes.
because I think this still qualifies for.
But you know, for building the elevator, you have to have it come all the way
You're
down.
gonna have a
It has
room,
to be
hydraulic.
right. It has to be at least formed for it to be able to have the controls and
The
everything
machinery.
underneath.
Oh,
Right.
underneath. Okay.
Yes.
Underneath, either hydraulic, electric, whatever.
Right.
yeah.
So there's.
So at any rate, we had said, look, just take a look at it. What would you need if you were redesigning a space for yourself based on the square footage of the building? What would you need? What would you want? You know, in terms of square footage, not, you know, oh, I want plush carpeting or any of those kinds of things.
Shag.
Shag.
Yeah, we want to bring it back.
On the walls.
Sound deadener.
But what, in terms of space, and what would you use it for? So I know that Chief was working on that. He and Sergeant Martin created that we'll look at on Thursday. I think we've talked to the Madison TV folks and talked about would we be able to move them. I think that's a more dire need to move them out of that building because I think it's a health hazard for them. They're inside that part of the garage where they're getting fumes and
Oh, jeez.
yeah, those kinds of
The air
things.
conditioning pulls the air from the main garage.
From the main garage.
Into the office.
Not from outside.
It's kind of
It's not fresh air.
kind of bass backwards if you ask me.
You know, and is that something that could be cured with a new like mini split system as opposed to moving them? I don't know, but it needs to be looked at.
Mhm.
You know, all those kinds of things, and so we should have. I think we have probably 2 more meetings before we're going to be like, okay, this is where we sit. This is what we're recommending. Should stay on here. This should come off. You know, this is the amount once you start to bring it all up and what does that look like and
Right.
how much is it, so. We are meeting Thursday morning at 9:30 over in the library, cause I guess the auditors are in here, Linda? Yeah, so we'll be over in the library, if anybody wants to come by and talk to us about it, come on by. Okay, 11 and 12, we are not gonna, or 11, the drawdown review, we're not gonna work through that tonight. We're 95% of the way through the year. If there's anything that's gonna cause us concern, then it already did, probably. So, I wouldn't think, the only question I would have is, Linda, how is the town doing from a cash flow perspective?
Much better.
Much better, now that the taxes are starting to come in?
Oh, yeah. We had, tomorrow we pay, well, the check went over today to pay the county their $850,000. That was the one we were a little nervous about, but we're fine.
Okay, good, cause I haven't paid my taxes yet.
Me either.
Me either, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't have any
I just
control.
haven't gotten to it,
It's
although
okay.
I did put it in the system to pay, I think.
We got till the 31st.
I know, and I made the comment to my husband, if they wanted it earlier than the 31st, they would have dated it for earlier than the 31st,
Well,
but.
They couldn't.
We can't.
She
Well,
couldn't
you have to
afford
give
those.
30 days to
Oh,
pay.
30 days to pay, right. So, revenue report, have we heard anything from the state about the meals and use tax?
We always get it. It just comes to
It's just-
closer to the end of the year.
Do we have any
I
idea?
saw it was 248.
It was on the MS 434
Yeah,
was the
Well, that's
exact
the
amount that we're getting.
estimate.
No,
No,
that wasn't.
that's what the
actual
state is
number
saying.
that they told us.
don't quote me, I
that we
think
get.
it was about
I have the
$250.
MS.
Yeah, give or take.
I
It's
have
gone
it
up
somewhere.
significantly from a few years ago when they changed the law. It used to be about 120.
Right, I
And
do
they-
remember
They
that.
changed the law so that towns are getting their fair share back.
Still a benefit of STRs. You get that.
So
Exactly,
you said
that's how
it's
I know
about
those numbers,
250?
Yeah,
Okay,
it was on the MS 434. I don't know. off the
okay,
top of my head.
I'll look at that MS, I still.
But we hadn't received it, that's why I didn't put it on there.
Okay, and then ETFs.
Yep.
Very cool. I gotta find the page. We need more dogs and marriages.
Separate, please.
Marriage
Yeah, like-
license fees were only $70. Nobody's getting married anymore.
We only make $7 off of every marriage license.
Really?
What did I do with it?
Hey, it's 10
The
couples.
town gets the rest, the state gets $43.
So it's $50?
This thing?
No.
It's a $50
Oh,
fee.
so
The
there's,
state-
that's 10 couples then.
The s-
Oh, okay.
Right, the
That's
state
pretty
gets
good.
$43, we
Oh,
get 7.
jeez.
Yeah, the state rings it in pretty good.
But if you marry a dog,
It's $100 and jail time.
We need more
man is
licensing
not
of the dogs. We only got $3,800. Dogs.
Yeah, right, yeah.
But you figure you're only getting $3, $3.50 a dog.
I know, we had 4 dogs, now we're down to 2, so.
I'll get one more and you can get like a package deal or something,
Yeah,
you get like a
It's like $9 instead of the
Yeah.
$10.50.
Okay.
five,
less than
5 or more
All
dogs.
right, you
get a
guys.
All right. We're trying to enhance our
Let's get back
revenue
to
here.
the ETF
All right.
balance, so that we can go
Getting late,
home.
I'm losing it.
It's 8:30.
I
All
I know.
All right.
right, so this is
God bless
this
you.
is up to date?
Yep, yes, with what the selectmen voted to,
Move the STR
Ask.
money?
at their last Tuesday's meeting is taken into consideration here.
Okay. And there's nothing that's, this GGB computer equipment ETF that has $785 in it. Can't we vote to get rid of it and put
The
this,
selectmen could vote to just, extinguish it, whatever the word is, discontinue it. And
I mean, does
put
it
the
make
money in the
sense
general
to
fund.
have it?
who's GGB?
Who's GGB?
General
General
government
Government
buildings.
building.
Oh, okay, all right.
Cause didn't we just update a lot of the computer equipment? Did we just do that, or is it
Yes,
in the
but we
budget
didn't
too?
use it, we didn't use anything.
We didn't use that, right, well, there isn't enough there to really use, but.
That would buy you one laptop.
I say maybe 2 laptops.
Or one Apple laptop,
Yeah.
right,
If you're into Apple.
if you're into Apple. PEG TV. 66, transfer station. Historical Society building, was that for their?
That painted it.
Painted it, yeah.
Didn't they do some windows or something?
They
That was last year,
re-glazed
right?
They
and,
replaced one window, I think.
yeah.
And then a roof or something, they did some
They
roof
painted,
repairs.
Yeah, they painted
the
They
paint-
came in the other day with a few invoices from the summertime that they are asking for the money to come out of, be reimbursed from that Historical Society Building Improvement Fund. But I haven't brought it to the selectmen.
What kind, do you know what kind of expenses they were, or do you remember? No, okay, I don't expect you to remember everything.
It was two different people, two
You need
different,
to put some
and I guess
heat on
the
it.
logistics of it I needed to figure out.
Yeah, you think?
I figured there wasn't any urgency since the
One
bills were from the
downstairs.
summertime. And the thing about expendable trust funds is
No,
the town has to pay it before the
it's like,
trustees can give us the money back.
Right.
But they were paid by the Historical Society, so we'd have to pay the Historical Society before we would be able to ask the trustees for the money to reimburse the general fund. I gotta look into the logistics of it. I've never repaid someone out of a trust fund. You just see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So,
well, especially since it wasn't, it's not a town expense, it's not a town budget line. The Historical Society, I mean, part of theirs is, but,
yeah, just, I think phone,
right.
maybe we pay for.
So everything that they do just comes out of warrant articles, right?
I think, or they have their own funds over there that they do use a lot to pay for over there.
Okay. And ball field ETF, $11,000?
It was,
It's,
Is that earlier in the year?
that
well,
was,
from the whole year
yeah.
of things, yeah, there was,
they're redoing the upper ball field.
What
So
does that mean?
So that money, the money that was recently spent was for the material to redo the infield. So in the spring, they'll strip the infield, redo the infield, put new
it's like a.
anchors
cement
in
mix.
for the,
For
the bases.
The clay.
yeah.
But they
everything
bought
else.
the stuff now?
Yeah, they were, the hope was to get it stripped this fall, but it's volunteer based, so
Well, that and the weather turned.
and there was also that. Yeah, so that,
Turn
at this point, the material's here, so all that needs to be done is volunteer labor at this point. in the
That
spring.
infield needs to be done.
Yeah,
pretty-
it's
rough.
pretty bad, yeah, so they're gonna redo that upper one.
And it also included the stuff from, Village.
Village Green, yeah, to
Fertilizer
fertilize
and-
the outfield, this,
Oh, nice.
yeah,
All
so
those.
they do it spring, fall.
Spring and fall, yeah. Okay, any other questions about the ETFs? No? Any other questions in general, any other comments in general? Any issues, concerns? Speak now,
Bite your tongue.
or forever hold your peace, or at least until next meeting. Well, all right, well, there being nothing, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded?
Second.
And we will adjourn at 8:40. Next meeting is January 13th, so it gives you a whole month to start going through this, you guys.